Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has hashirama and madara chakra seal inside harem. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by JTZ29 and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. They had done it. Naruto couldn't help the smile that spread across his face as this realization hit him. They had defeated Kagaya, Madara and Obito and saved the world. Infinite Tsukiyomi could be stopped and everything could go back to normal. I can't believe we did it. Naruto thought as he looked at Sakura, Sasuke and Kakashi. All of them were exhausted after the non-stop fighting they had endured. You really pulled through on this one, kid, Kurama's young half said with a small grin gracing his face. Naruto did a full 360 looking at all the Biju that were standing around them. Seeing the beast he was looking for, Naruto's face lit up. Boy. Kurama. Naruto yelled to the Kyuubi who was now towering over him. I missed you, man, did you miss me too? Naruto yelled, waving to the demon fox who he had recently befriended. Shut up, you baka. I didn't miss you at all. Besides, my yin half is still sealed inside you. Kurama yelled in mock anger as he flipped Naruto off. Oh come on, I know you love me. Naruto said, holding out his fist for Kurama to bump. Reluctantly, Kurama extended his massive paw and bumped fists with Naruto, causing a massive grin to form on both their faces. To think a shinobi could come along and befriend the Biju and have them offer him assistance. Truly remarkable. The Sage of Six Paths said as he watched Naruto with a small smile on his face. Obito too. Naruto was the one to save Obito and drag him out of the darkness. Kakashi said as he looked at his student talking with the tailed beasts as if they were long-lost friends. And then when I see Obito I'll have to have him tell me all about it, the sage said. Suddenly Kakashi started to collapse, but he was quickly caught by Sakura. Sensei. Are you alright? Sakura said, worried that Kakashi was hurt. I'm fine, Sakura, I'm just exhausted. Kakashi said as Sakura helped him stand up. Just then Naruto walked up to the group just as the reanimated Hokage were getting ready to return to their proper place in the afterlife. Naruto walked up his father and they exchanged heartfelt goodbyes, causing both of them to tears. Naruto wished he could have more time with his father, but he knew he didn't belong in this world. But it still broke his heart to see his father slowly fade away until there was nothing left. Farewell, Dad, I love you and Mom so much. Naruto said as he rubbed the tears from his eyes. Sakura and Kakashi were both saddened to see Naruto have to say goodbye to his father. Sasuke just looked on with an emotionless mask. Naruto turned to all the Biju who were discussing what they planned to do now that they were free. The Sage of Six Paths explained that since Naruto had all their chakra in him, that he was a sort of meeting place for them. That if they ever wanted to talk, they could do it through him. So how do we undo the infinite Tsukiyomi? Do you need our chakra? Kurama said, asking the question that was on everyone's mind. No, all we need is Naruto, since he has all your chakra in him, and Sasuke's Rinnegan. The sage explained, but an uneasy feeling washed over him as he looked at Sasuke. Now what about you, Sasuke? The sage asked, narrowing his eyes. Sasuke paused for a moment before he answered. Let me think about it, Sasuke said as he lowered his head and his eyes darkened. But first I'm going to kill all the Kage. This shocked everyone but Hagoromo, who had a sneaking suspicion about Sasuke ever since the battle ended. What did you say, Sasuke? Kakashi asked, shocked by his former student's words. Also Biju, Sasuke said, his Rinnegan blazing. You are under my control and I will destroy you as well. You bastard. Kurama yelled as he tried to take a swipe at Sasuke. But he was stopped when he and all the other Biju were placed under Sasuke's trance. He put the tailed beasts in a trance from just one glance, Hagoromo said in shock. Naruto, I leave this to you, you're the only one who can stop this. You're right, Hagoromo, but I won't end up like your kids. I'm not Ashura and Sasuke isn't Indra. Naruto said as he stared Sasuke down. Sasuke, are you still hung up on revenge? Kakashi asked, wanting to dissuade his student. A while ago, yes, it was for revenge and destruction. But now I want to destroy and rebuild upon the ashes, I want a revolution. Sasuke said with the most menacing face he could muster. A revolution? Kakashi said, confused. It's the current Kage who have made the world the way it is today. That's why I'm gonna become Hokage and change everything. Sasuke said as he turned his back to everyone. Ikbaku Tensei, Sasuke said, forming a hand seal. Suddenly the ground started to shake. As the tailed beasts were lifted into the air and encased in large spheres created from the earth. Now that the Biju are taken care of, the only obstacle left is you, Naruto. Sasuke says just as Naruto lands in front of him. Naruto takes a deep breath and looks Sasuke right in the eyes. This shit between us ends right now, Sasuke. Naruto says calmly, his eyes full of determination. Just let the Biju go. I know them now and they won't do anything evil, Sasuke. Naruto said, trying to persuade his friend. You don't get it, Naruto. You've got a little of all the Bijuu's chakra in you, and I must destroy all of it. Sasuke said, continuing their stare down. Once I kill you, I'll use the captured tailed beast's chakra to undo this genjutsu. There's no way in hell I'm gonna let you do that. Naruto said, getting angry. Fine, I'll just kill you first then, Naruto. Let's head somewhere else. With that, Sasuke turns to leave. But Sasuke was stopped when he heard Sakura call out. I know there's nothing I can really do to stop this, but I did love you, Sasuke, Sakura said as she supported the exhausted Kakashi. But I never thought you'd turn out like this. Please, Sasuke, we're all finally reunited, don't do this. Sasuke turned his head to look at Sakura and he had an evil smirk on his face. You're so annoying, I'll shut you up for good. Sasuke said, and with amazing speed he was in front of Sakura. His arm extended and crackling with electricity as it pierced Sakura's heart. Sakura's eyes widened as she coughed up a mouthful of blood. Sasuke. Sakura managed to say before she fell over, her blood staining the ground surrounding them. Naruto watched on in horror, praying that he was in a genjutsu. He formed a hand seal and flared his chakra. Kai please, Kami Kai. But to Naruto's horror the scene didn't change. Tears started to pour out his eyes as he ran to Sakura. When Naruto reached Sakura, he immediately took her in his arms. He checked for a pulse, there was none. Naruto hugged Sakura close to his chest and sobbed openly. "Chan, how pathetic," Sasuke scoffed as he continued to walk. "I believe we something to finish, Naruto." Hearing Sasuke say that, something snapped inside Naruto. He let out a growl as he looked at Sasuke. "I was gonna try and convince you to stop this, but now I am gonna kill you." Naruto yelled, his eyes turning red. Sasuke for the first time was actually afraid of Naruto. He had never heard Naruto speak that way and he had never seen him so angry. "Fine, try your best, dope," Sasuke said before he took off. Naruto looked down at Sakura and chalked back one more sob before a look of fury spread across his face. "I swear, Sakura-chan, I will avenge you," Naruto thought as he tightly held Sakura on last time. Naruto looked at Kakashi, who was too shocked to speak, but he did have a few tears falling from his eyes. "Sensei, please watch Sakura-chan for me. I'm going to finish this now," Naruto said as he handed Sakura's lifeless body to Kakashi. Kakashi dumbly nodded and clutched Sakura to his chest and held her in his arms. The silver-haired man looked down at his student and fresh tears fell from his eyes. "Sasuke, you've gone too far this time. You are dead to me," Naruto thought as felt Kurama's chakra course through his body. "Go get that bastard Kit," Kurama's young half said, lending Naruto as much of his chakra as possible. With this extra chakra pumping through his system, Naruto raced after Sasuke. Ready to kill the man who he had promised to save. 10 minutes later. After chasing after Sasuke for over 10 minutes, Naruto landed on Hashirama's head at the Valley of the End. I knew you'd come here," Naruto said, closing his eyes. "This brings back a lot of memories." "Nothing will change." Sasuke tried to speak, but he was cut off by Naruto. "Shut up. You don't get to talk, you bastard. This time things will end differently. This time I'm not trying to bring you back. This time I'm gonna kill you," Naruto growled out, his voice full of rage. Without another word, both former friends took off towards each other. They meet in the middle of the ravine and their arms clash. Instantly they're both thrown back. Sasuke, seizing the opportunity, launched a massive fireball at Naruto. Naruto quickly activated his Sage Kyuubi mode and dodged the fireball. Sasuke suddenly appeared behind Naruto with a Chidori charged, ready to spear Naruto. But Naruto was ready for this and dodged attack and delivered a powerful kick to Sasuke's jaw. Sasuke was sent flying back by the force of the kick, but he managed to straighten himself out and land on his feet. Quickly wiping the blood from his mouth, Sasuke activated his Susanoo. Sasuke fired an Amaterasu arrow at Naruto. But again Naruto dodged and went into his Bijuu mode. Naruto quickly made a familiar hand sign, and 2 more Bijuu mode Narutos appeared. All 3 of them made a Bijuu-powered Rasen Shuriken in each hand and threw them at Sasuke. Seeing all 6 attacks flying towards him, Sasuke used his Rinnegan to quickly teleport out of the way. But Sasuke had no time to relax as Naruto, still in Bijuu mod, was already charging at him with a Rasengan in his hand. Sasuke charged a Chidori in his Susanu's hand and he started to charge Naruto. Both attacks clashed, each trying to overpower the other. An explosion rang out and both Naruto and Sasuke were sent flying backwards. Naruto and Sasuke were both exhausted now, each had used their strongest attacks and were out of chakra. But neither was ready to stop fighting yet. It now came down to a battle of fists. Both traded and blocked blows. When Naruto would land a successful blow, Sasuke would follow with one immediately after. "Just hold on, kid, I've almost got some chakra ready for you," Kurama said as he gathered chakra and sent it to Naruto. But to Naruto and Kurama's horror, Sasuke grabbed Naruto and started to absorb the chakra he was receiving. Since when could this asshole absorb chakra? Kurama yelled in anger. By now Sasuke had thrown Naruto to the ground and had a Chidori charged. Naruto was so exhausted he could barely move. This ends now, Naruto. Sasuke said as he lunged towards Naruto, ready for the kill. Naruto however was not ready to give up. Mustering up strength, Naruto managed to deliver an uppercut to Sasuke's jaw, making him stumble back. Seeing his opportunity, Naruto scrambled to his feet ready to finish this. "Here kid, this is all I've got. Remember, don't let him take it," Kurama said as he gave Naruto the last of his chakra. Both Naruto and Sasuke were battered and bruised, but Naruto was determined to kill Sasuke. When Sasuke looked to Naruto, he saw he had a Rasengan swirling in his hand. "It's time to end this," Sasuke thought as he charged a Chidori, the electricity crackling around his arm. In a flash they were both charging towards each other. "Naruto. Sasuke." But just before the jutsus clashed, Sasuke's eyes widened when he saw Naruto's Rasengan change. A loud howling sound was heard as the Rasengan formed 4 spinning blades of wind. Naruto had managed to change his Rasengan into a Rasen Shuriken. Both attacks clashed, but this time Sasuke's Chidori was quickly overpowered. Sasuke was sent flying backwards as the Rasen Shuriken was shoved into his chest. A blinding explosion went off as the Rasen Shuriken destroyed Sasuke's body at the cellular level. When the light died down, Sasuke was lying in a crater gasping for breath with his right arm missing. Naruto walked up to the crater and stood over Sasuke. "Just do it, finish me off." Sasuke wheezed out as blood poured from his mouth. Naruto was hesitant, but he pulled a kunai from his pouch. Taking a deep breath, Naruto plunged the kunai into Sasuke's chest, killing him. Naruto dropped the kunai and fell to his knees. Tears fell from his eyes as he was overcome with grief. "My best friend and the girl I loved. They're both dead," Naruto thought as he continued to cry. Naruto didn't know how long he sat there, wallowing in his grief. But suddenly he felt a hand grasp his shoulder. Naruto turned his head to see Kakashi standing there with a sad look in his eyes. Naruto looked past Kakashi and spotted Sakura's body gently laid out on the ground. Then Naruto looked to Sasuke, he looked into his lifeless eyes. Then Naruto looked at Sasuke's Rinnegan, then to Sakura, and an idea came to him. "I've lost so much already, I refuse to lose her too," Naruto thought as he steeled himself for what he planned to do. Sakura had never felt so much pain in her life. When she felt Sasuke pierce her chest, she looked into his eyes and saw nothing but evil and hatred. Then he slowly extracted his arm from her chest. She managed to utter his name before she fell over. There was nothing but complete blackness for what seemed like hours. But then Sakura saw a light off in the distance. "They say to not walk towards the light, but it's like I'm being drawn towards it," Sakura said as she started walking towards the light. When she got closer, she noticed that the light was a small campfire. But that wasn't what struck her as odd. What struck her as odd was that there were 2 figures sitting around the fire, a man and a woman. As she neared, both people turned towards her. The man she recognized, but the woman she had never seen before. "Ah Sakura, we were just talking about you," the man said. "Yeah, come take a seat, Tebane. Come take a seat, Dadabane," the beautiful red-haired woman said, motioning for Sakura to sit next to her. "Dadabane, that sounds like something Naruto would say," Sakura thought as she hesitantly walked forward. The man who she recently had found out was the Yondaime Hokage, and Naruto's father scooted over, allowing Sakura to sit between the two of them. "So Sakura, what happened? When I left everything seemed fine," Minato said, curious as to why Sakura was there. "Well, Sasuke killed me," Sakura bluntly answered. "What? Why would he do that?" Minato asked, getting upset. "Wait, Sasuke, as in Sasuke-cha?" the red-haired woman asked. "Yeah, do you know him?" Sakura asked, the woman was starting to gain her interest. "No, not really, but I did knew his mom, Mikoto-cha," the woman replied, piquing Sakura's interest. "Excuse me for asking, but who exactly are you?" Sakura asked, wanting to know who this mystery woman is. "Me, I'm Kushina Uzamaki," the woman said proudly. "Uzamaki? Do you know Naruto?" Sakura continued her questioning. "Know him, I'm his mother Dadabane," Kushina said with pride in her voice. Mother?" Sakura stammered out, stunned. This beautiful woman was Naruto's mother. "Me with a mom and dad as good looking as them, no wonder Naruto is so hot. Where the hell did that come from?" Sakura thought, but she was interrupted by someone she hadn't heard from in a long time. Well, look who's finally noticing her feelings," Inner Sakura said in a knowing tone. "You, I thought you were long gone, and what the hell are you talking about?" Sakura thought, surprised to hear from her inner self. "Oh, I wasn't gone, dormant is the term I'd use. And I was talking about your feelings for Naruto, you baka," Inner Sakura said, scolding her outer self. What are you talking about?" Sakura stammered out, her face turning red. "You know you love him. You have for a long time. You just had to push past your childish obsession with Sasuke." Inner Sakura said, her words ringing in Sakura's mind. Hello. Sakura, are you alright? Kushina said, snapping her fingers in front of Sakura's face. Just think about it. Inner Sakura said before she cut off their connection. I'm fine, Mrs. Uzamaki. I just spaced out for a minute there. Sakura said, getting back into the conversation. Oh, it's alright dear, dying kinda has that effect on you. Also please call me Kushina, the red-haired woman said with a smile. Suo, Sakura, what's this? Minato was telling me about you being my son's girlfriend. Kushina said in a sing-song voice. What? Sakura almost yelled, glaring at Minato. Now dear, don't embarrass the girl. Minato said, trying to stop his wife before Sakura beat him. He may be dead, but that didn't mean he couldn't feel pain. Oh come on Minato-kun, I wanna talk to my Sachi's girlfriend, Kushina whined. I'm not Naruto's girlfriend, we're just really close friends. Sakura said, trying to deny what Kushina was saying. Really, that's surprising. When I first spoke with Naruto, all he talked about was you, Kushina said, surprised. Oh really? Sakura said, her heart fluttering and her face turning red. Yeah, he went on and on about you. He only had the nicest things to say about his Sakura-chan. Kushina said, again. Sakura's heart fluttered again, hearing that Naruto thought so much of her. I just don't know what to feel around Naruto. He makes me feel all weird and bubbly whenever I'm around him. Sakura said as she ran her hands through her hair. Well, let's see if we can help you recognize your true feelings for our son. Minato said as he snapped his fingers. Instantly a misty-like haze appeared in front of them. What is that? Sakura asked as she stood up and walked toward the haze. This, Kushina said, gesturing towards the mist, will allow you to see people's memories. Really? Sakura asked, feeling skeptical. Yep. Kushina said happily. Let's try it out on you first. Instantly the mist was filled with images from Sakura's life. It showed her worst and her best moments. Sakura felt terrible watching herself hit and berate Naruto with his parents right in front of her. But instead of getting angry, Kushina was laughing and giggling whenever Sakura hit him. You aren't mad I hit Naruto? Sakura asked, surprised Kushina wasn't trying to strangle her. No, Naruto deserved a good smack most of the time. Plus I would have done the same thing if I were in your position. Kushina laughed, but she stopped when a certain memory flashed into the mist. When Sakura looked at the memory, she was filled with regret. It was the memory of her confession in the Land of Iron. As the scene played out, Sakura tried to hide her tears of regret. But she was unsuccessful, as tears started to freely fall from her eyes. Sakura was surprised to feel someone wiping away her tears. When she looked, she saw Kushina smiling at her. Why aren't you furious at me? I broke Naruto's heart there. Sakura said, gesturing towards the images. Because as I watched that confession, even though it was mostly a lie, I could tell deep down that you were telling the truth, Kushina said as she gripped Sakura's shoulder. Call it a mother's intuition. Sakura couldn't help but think back to that day. She couldn't deny that when she held Naruto, that it felt right to have him in her arms. That the words I love you flowed out so naturally when directed towards Naruto. Was Kushina right? Did she really love Naruto? Plus there's this. Minato said again, gesturing towards the mist. This time the memory was of her fighting desperately to save Naruto's life during the war, even resorting to manually pumping his heart. That right there proves to me how far you're willing to go for my son, Minato said with a smile. Things started to click in Sakura's mind. Pieces started to fall into place, she was starting to understand her true feelings for Naruto. Now let's look at Naruto's memories. Minato said as again the images changed, but this time they were from Naruto's point of view. As the images flew by, Sakura couldn't help but smile at how close Naruto and her had become. She watched all the intimate moments they shared, and her heart beat faster every time Naruto complimented her or saved her from danger. A few memories caught her attention though. Like when he first returned with Jiraiya, she watched as Naruto said she hadn't changed at all. That it irritated her when she first heard that. But seeing it from Naruto's perspective, it gave her a new viewpoint. She realized that Naruto had meant that she was still as beautiful as ever and she hadn't changed in his eyes. Then there was the time he saved her from Sasuke as he prepared to kill her. She felt the fear in his heart at the prospect of losing her. She saw how determined he was to save her just after she had nearly broken his heart. Seeing this made Sakura feel like a piece of shit for everything she did to him. But the memory that made her heart skip a beat was a memory from way back when Team 7 was first formed. Wait, stop here. Sakura said, wanting to watch this memory unfold. She watched as Naruto beat and tied up Sasuke. But when she saw him henge into Sasuke, everything clicked into place. Her eyes widened as she watched the scene that had made her cling to Sasuke unfold. It was Naruto who had called her forehead charming. It was Naruto who made her feel so loved and special that day. It was Naruto who she truly loved. Her eyes were now opened and she had seen the light. That light was her true love, Naruto Uzumaki. You stupid baka, Sakura thought as tears fell from her eyes. Why did you never tell me that was you? It could have been you I was chasing after. Now do you see? If you want to find out why he never told you, keep watching. Inner Sakura said as again cut off their connection. Sakura wiped her tears and turned back towards the mist. This time it was a memory of them returning after a mission. She watched as she walked off, with Naruto standing with Sai. Then as she watched the scene unfold, her heart ached again. It was that damn selfish, immature promise that stopped Naruto from confessing his feelings for her. Again tears sprung from her eyes, it was her fault Naruto and her weren't together. Ami, I'm such a selfish bitch. Sakura yelled in her head, pissed at her stupidity. Yep, you sure are. Inner Sakura chimed in. Ami, shut up. Sakura yelled, cutting of their connection. So Sakura, did that help you realize your feelings? Minato asked. Yes it did. Thank you for that, I needed it, Sakura said. So what are your feelings for my little Sachi? Kushina asked with a hopeful smile on her face. I do love Naruto. Sakura said as she clutched her fluttering heart, the words sounding so right as she said them. Ahhh. That's so good to hear. Kushina squealed, happy that her son had followed her dying wish. He had found a woman just like her. But I'm dead, so none of this matters. Sakura sighed in frustration. Of course, just as she recognizes her feeling for Naruto, she goes and dies. On the contrary, you might have your chance at love after all. Minato said with a smile as he gestured for Sakura to look at yourself. Sakura looked down and she was slightly glowing. What's going on? Sakura asked, scared of what was going to happen. Looks like it wasn't your time yet, you're being called back. Minato said as he gripped Sakura's shoulder. As Sakura started to fade away, she heard Kushina call out to her. Oh, Sakura, when you get back make sure to tell Naruto how you feel right away, Kushina yelled. I want to be a grandma soon and tell Mibuki I said hi. What? You knew my mom? Sakura asked in surprise. Yeah, Mikoto, her and I were best friends. Kushina yelled out. Sakura never got to respond as she faded away and was gone. When Sakura was gone, Minato turned and wrapped his arms around his wife's waist. I have a feeling she won't be the only one going after our son. Minato said as he slowly rubbed Kushina's back. Ah, I think you're right on that one. But even though our son will likely have many loves, that girl will be closest to his heart, that will never change. Kushina said as she wrapped her arms around Minato's neck. Now my dear husband, why don't you show me the reason they call you the Yellow Flash? Kushina said as she looked at Minato with lust-filled violet eyes. Minato just sweat dropped and obliged. Man, Kushina is truly insatiable. I mean, we did it 4 times before Sakura even got here. Minato thought as he pulled his wife in for a kiss. When Sakura opened her eyes, she felt a strong pair of arms around her. She looked up to see Naruto looking down at her. But what shocked her was one of his eyes held a blue Tomoe Rinnegan. Naruto. 1 hour earlier, Valley of the End. Kakashi-sensei, I have an idea. Naruto said as he gently took the Rinnegan out of Sasuke's right eye. Okay Naruto, I'm all ears, Kakashi said. I want you to replace my left eye with Sasuke's Rinnegan. Naruto said as he placed the Rinnegan in Kakashi's hand. What? I'm not a medic, Naruto. Kakashi said frantically. True, but I know you've copied some medical ninjutsu, Naruto said. Kakashi looked at the Rinnegan in his hand. True, he knew medical ninjutsu, but he was in no way trained in it. He knew how to do the operation, but he was afraid he'd botch it. But he knew they had no other options. With a sigh he gave his answer. Fine, we'll do this Naruto, Kakashi said, laying Naruto on his back. But I need you to stall still and be quiet. I'll need the utmost concentration. Seeing Naruto nod, Kakashi started the operation. Now Naruto had been punched, kicked, stabbed, and blown up more times than he cared to remember. But the pain of having his eye pulled out was indescribable, and the fear he felt when he couldn't see out his left eye was almost as bad. He wanted to scream as loud as his lungs allowed, but he forced it down. Kakashi needed to concentrate. As soon as the pain started, it was over, and Naruto could see out of his left eye again. As soon as the operation was over, Kakashi slumped forward, out of chakra. The power he felt from the Rinnegan was indescribable. He wanted to test out all the abilities his eye possessed. But he knew he had a task to accomplish. So Naruto stood on shaky legs, ready to perform the jutsus. He decided to undo the infinite Tsukiyomi first. Naruto channeled the Bijuu chakra inside him into his Rinnegan. Then Naruto flashed through some hand seals. There was a bright flash that illuminated the sky. Turning around, Naruto and Kakashi saw that the moon had returned to normal. Knowing that everyone trapped in the Jinjutsu would wake up, Naruto prepared himself for the next, more difficult jutsu. You do know how incredibly stupid and dangerous this is, right? Kakashi said, the worry in his voice obvious. Hey, that's never stopped me before, Naruto said with his trademark grin. Plus we Uzamaki are known for our stamina, vitality, and endurance. I mean if I can survive Kurama being extracted from me, I can live this. But just as Naruto was about to perform the jutsu he felt Kakashi's hand on his shoulder. Please, please be careful Naruto. I don't think I can handle losing another student. Kakashi said, the worry visible in his eyes. Don't worry sensei, I promise everything will be alright. Naruto said with a soft smile. Naruto slowly went through the hand seals he remembered Nagato using. Landing on the last seal, Naruto channeled chakra into his Rinnegan. Rin Tensei no Jutsu, Naruto said. When Naruto opened his eyes he found himself in a pitch black area. Walking around Naruto saw a ghostly figure. As Naruto approached he noticed it was a shinobi. The ghostly shinobi appeared to be talking to another figure. Getting closer he recognized the shinobi's face and his face lit up. Neji. Naruto yelled as he approached the fallen Hyuga. But Neji didn't make any movements. Naruto tapped Neji on the shoulder, but when he did Neji turned into a green light and disappeared. Understanding what happened Naruto started to bring back every fallen shinobi and Kunoichi he could. Naruto even managed to save a few additional people. Like Konan, who he was upset he couldn't save from Obito, and Ryuzetsu, who had sacrificed her life to save his. But some of the shinobi couldn't be saved for some reason, like his master Jiraiya, which saddened him greatly. As Kakashi watched Naruto, he noticed Naruto's hair start to turn white and he seemed to age rapidly. Naruto, please don't overdo it. Kakashi thought just as the ground started to shake. Turning around Kakashi saw the same figure that appeared after Pain's attack. Suddenly the king of hell opened its mouth and souls started to pour out of its mouth. Kakashi looked to his student who was starting to pant in exhaustion. Naruto was almost ready to leave, he had saved as many shinobi as possible. He had enough chakra left for one more person and he was still looking for her. Naruto wandered around the empty blackness for what seemed like hours. Just as he was about to give up and try again later, he spotted a light in the distance. Walking towards it Naruto saw 3 figures sitting around a fire. They seemed to be having a conversation. As he neared his eyes lit up. It was his parents and Sakura. Naruto ran towards them and immediately touched Sakura on shoulder. Instantly she started to glow and fade away. Naruto glanced once at his parents. His mother seemed to be yelling something at Sakura and his dad was smiling. With his own smile Naruto cancelled the jutsu and returned to the real world. Naruto opened his eyes, his features returning to normal as he started panting lightly. He immediately ran over to Sakura and took her in his arms. Naruto held Sakura close as she started to stir. When she opened her eyes, Naruto was filled with more joy than he had ever felt in his entire life. He looked into her beautiful green eyes and was almost brought to tears. Naruto, Sakura said as tears formed in her eyes. But she was filled with happiness as Naruto brought her into a crushing hug. Thank Kami, you're alright Sakura-chan. Naruto said as he openly wept into her shoulder as he hugged her. Naruto, you saved me again. Sakura said as she wrapped her arms around Naruto, her own tears falling as well. Of course Sakura-chan, I'll always be there to save you, Naruto said as he hugged her tighter. Because I love you, Sakura-chan. Sakura's heart was filled with joy upon hearing those words. Now Sakura was prepared to finally return them. Lightly pushing Naruto off her, she looked him right in the eyes. Naruto, to love you too. Sakura said as she leaned in and kissed him passionately. Naruto's eyes widened when he felt Sakura's lips on his. They were soft and they felt perfect on his lips. After a minute they both pulled away, each had a dreamy look on their face. Kakashi looked on with an eye smile. Ah, so it finally happened. Kakashi thought as he saw his 2 students finally realize their feelings for each other. What changed your mind Sakura-chan? Naruto asked, surprised by her sudden change of heart. Well, I was Didi met your parents. They helped me recognize my feelings for you. Sakura said as she gave Naruto a chaste kiss. So that's what you were talking about, Naruto said what he saw making sense. Because I saw you talking to my parents before I saved you. Naruto pulled Sakura in for another hug. Sakura, I always have and always will love you. Naruto said as he held Sakura tightly. I know it took a long time for me to realize, but I love you too Naruto. I have for a long time. Sakura said as she returned the hug. Well, I hate to break this beautiful moment, but we still have work to do. Kakashi said, making all the both of them realize they still had a lot of work to do. Naruto helped Sakura up and together all 3 of them made their way back to the battlefield. Back on the battlefield thousands of shinobi were being released from their dream worlds. One of these shinobi was Hinata Hyuga. When her pearl eyes slowly opened she immediately sprung out of her cocoon. She got her bearings, then immediately took of running towards where she sensed Naruto's chakra. But she was stopped in her tracks as she recognized a figure walking in front of her. When the figure turned around she gasped. Neji, nice and you're alive. Neji awoke with a heavy intake of breath. He scanned his environment and he recognized it as the battlefield he had died on. When he looked down at his clothes, they still had holes in the areas where he was impaled. What is going on? I know I was killed. Neji thought as he slowly stood up. I was talking with my father, then suddenly I'm back here. Neji started to walk around. He spotted many other confused shinobi in the same position as him. They were positive they died, but then how are they back in the land of the living? As Neji walked, a sudden thought came to his mind. Hinata-sama. I must find her and make sure she's alright, Neji thought. But just as Neji was about to take off running, he heard someone call out to him. Neji Nyasan. You're alive. When Neji spun around, he was met with a crushing hug from Hinata. I can't believe you're alive. Hinata said as she cried tears of joy into Neji's shoulder. Neji, never having been really good with emotions, awkwardly wrapped his arms around Hinata. How are you alive, Nyasan? Hinata asked, her head still on his shoulder. I don't know. 1 second I was talking with my father, then the next I'm back here. Neji said as Hinata released him from the hug. It must have something to do with Naruto-kun. Hinata said as she felt Naruto's chakra approaching. Naruto, so he did it after all. Neji said as he turned around. On the horizon 3 figures approached, as the rising sun framed their figures. The heroes of the shinobi world had returned. But wait, where was the 4th? Naruto helped support Sakura as they walked back towards the battlefield. As they slowly made their way back, Naruto and Sakura were discussing a few things. So are we gonna tell people right away? Sakura asked as she leaned her head against Naruto's. Tell them about what? Oh, Naruto had matured, but his denseness still was very present. I'm talking about us being together, you baka. Sakura yelled as a vein bulged on her head, but she couldn't help the smile that spread on her face. Ugh, Naruto, you'll never change. But that's one of the things I love about you. Sakura thought as she pulled Naruto a little closer. Well, I don't, Naruto started to say, but he stopped dead when he noticed something he had missed before. Naruto, what's wrong? Sakura asked, wondering why he stopped mid-sentence. Then Sakura noticed Naruto was trying to avert his gaze while he was trying to fight off a massive blush. When Sakura followed his gaze, she was mortified at what she saw. There was still a gaping hole from where Sasuke had stabbed her, and her left breast was clearly visible through the opening. Sakura let out a loud eep before she quickly let go of Naruto and covered herself up. Oh my Kami, I'm so embarrassed. Sakura thought as her face turned beet red. He was gonna see eventually, so what's the big deal? Inner Sakura said with a dirty smirk. They're bigger than I thought they'd be. Naruto thought as he tried to pry his eyes away. Oh shit, I better act fast, or Sakura is gonna kill me. Acting quickly, Naruto took off his tattered orange jacket and handed it to Sakura. Just as Sakura was about to pummel Naruto, she saw him take off his jacket. Here, take it. Naruto said as he looked another way. Well, at least he's not a total perv. Sakura thought with a smile as she took the jacket and put it on. Both still red-faced, they turned to see Kakashi staring at them with a red streak in his mask. Sensei. They both shouted, knocking Kakashi out of his perverted thoughts. What? Kakashi said, but before he could continue he felt a fist impact his stomach. But the punch didn't come from Sakura. As he clutched his stomach, Kakashi looked up to see Naruto looking back at him with anger visible in his eyes. I can handle your normal perversion, sensei, because to be honest I'm not much better. But if I ever see you looking at Sakura-chan like that again, I won't hold back next time. Naruto said as he got in Kakashi's face to make his point clear. That's sure thing, Naruto. Kakashi said as he rapidly nodded his head. Note to self, never piss off Naruto ever again. Kakashi thought as he stood up, still holding his stomach. Wow, I never thought Naruto would stand up to Kakashi-sensei like that. Sakura thought with a smile on her face. Naruto walked back over to Sakura and let her lean on him again as they continued to walk. After walking for what seemed like hours, the sun was starting to rise. As Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi walked over the crest of a hill, they were met with the sight of thousands of shinobi waiting for them. Instantly the three of them were surrounded as the Shinobi Alliance cheered and congratulated the returning heroes. Naruto and Sakura were quickly separated from Kakashi as they made their way through the crowd. As they walked, Naruto spotted someone he was looking for. Neji, Hinata. Naruto yelled as Sakura and him made their way over. Naruto-kun. Hinata yelled as she ran up to Naruto and hugged him. Sakura looked at the scene with a twinge of jealousy. It's alright, she's just happy to see him. Sakura thought as she forced a smile on her face. Hey Hinata-chan, it's good to see you're okay. Naruto said as he returned her hug. Hinata sighed happily as she felt Naruto's arms wrap around her. But something felt slightly off about him. She released Naruto and looked him in the eyes, but she was shocked to see a Rinnegan in his left eye. Naruto-kun, why do you have a Rinnegan? Hinata gasped as she gazed into the blue rippled pattern eye. Well, that's a long story, Hinata. Naruto said with a sigh. Long story short, Sasuke killed Sakura. Hinata and Neji went wide-eyed when they heard this. So I went after him and fought him. I ended up killing him, but I was overcome with grief and didn't know what to do. Then when I looked at Sakura, I remembered that Sasuke had received the Rinnegan, Naruto said as he felt Sakura's hand intertwine with his. So I had Kakashi-sensei replace my left eye with Sasuke's Rinnegan. So it was you who brought all these dead shinobi back to life, myself included. Neji said with a small smile on his face. Yeah, that was me. Naruto said with his usual foxy grin. I wanted to save Sakura, but seeing all those other shinobi. I knew I had to help them too. So can you turn the Rinnegan off? Neji asked. I don't know, let me try. Naruto said as he stopped channeling chakra to his eye. For a second nothing happened, but after a few moments his eye returned to its normal bright blue color. It worked. Sakura said, getting lost in Naruto's deep blue eyes. Naruto was about to say something, but the rest of the Konoha 11 showed up. Naruto, you bastard, you did it. Kiba yelled as he playfully punched Naruto in the arm. Yeah, great job Naruto. Choji chimed in as he patted Naruto on the back. Yosh. You're amazing Naruto-kun. No wonder you're my eternal rival. Lee yelled, giving Naruto a thumbs up. You're so troublesome sometimes Naruto, but you really pulled through on this one. Shikamaru said as he offered Naruto a smile. Great job Naruto. Sai said with a genuine smile on his face. I must concur with everyone else, Naruto. You did an exceptional job. Shino said in his usual monotone voice. As the remaining rookie 9 praised and congratulated Naruto and Sakura, Tenten hesitantly made her way towards Neji. And Neji? Tenten said hesitantly as she walked up to the stoic Hyuga. Yes Tenten, it's me, no thanks to Naruto. Neji said as he was once again hugged by a crying Tenten. Thank Kami you're alive. Tenten said as she hugged him tighter. Neji? You're alive. Lee yelled as he hugged Neji along with Tenten. Neji just cringed and accepted the three-way hug. Naruto, where's Sasuke-kun? Ino asked looking for the Uchiha. This caused everyone to stop and turn to Naruto. Well, Naruto was about to explain again, but Sakura stepped in front of him. That bastard is dead. Sakura said harshly, causing Ino and everyone else to gasp. What Ino said as she tried to fight off tears. Don't you dare cry for him. Sakura yelled, causing Ino to flinch. Did you know that asshole killed me? This caused Ino's eyes to shoot open. He what? Ino asked, not believing her ears. He was gonna try and kill Naruto, all the Kage, and Ibijuu, Sakura said as she relived the awful experience. I tried to talk him out of it, but he wasn't gonna listen to me. He called me annoying, then he stabbed me in the heart with his Chidori. Sakura said as she placed a hand over her heart. It's only thanks to Naruto that I'm here right now. But he wouldn't. Ino was cut off when she felt a hand on her shoulder. Ino-chan, I'm sorry that I had to kill Sasuke, but he needed to be stopped. If there was any other way to stop him I would have taken it, Naruto said as he pulled Ino in for a hug. If you need to cry, do it. Ino was hesitant at first, but Naruto was being so sincere and kind. So with a loud sob she let out all her grief. The pain of losing her father, then the man she thought she loved, came crashing down on her. As Ino cried into his shoulder, Naruto slowly started rubbing her back. Ino-chan, I know you're sad now, but there will be a surprise for you back at the village. Naruto said, causing Ino to stop crying. What do you mean? Ino said as she wiped her tears. You'll see when we get back to the village, but I promise you'll love it. Naruto said with his trademark grin. Then Naruto looked to Shikamaru. The same thing goes for you, Shikamaru. You're in for a surprise when we get back to the village, Naruto said. Man, this is such a drag. Shikamaru lazily drawled out. Well, I guess we should look for Bachan, then make our way back home. Naruto said as he held on to Sakura as he walked. Sakura never noticed the jealous look she was getting from Hinata and Ino. After sifting through the crowds for what seemed like hours, Naruto and the rest of the Konoha 11 found Tsunade and the rest of the Kage, directing the shinobi forces. Bachan. Naruto yelled as he led Sakura and himself over to Tsunade. As Tsunade was directing a group of Konoha shinobi towards the medical area, she heard someone call out to her. A vein popped in her head when she heard the person call her granny. What disrespectful little shit wants to die? Tsunade thought as she turned around. But when she saw who was standing there her eyes lit up. Naruto. Sakura. Tsunade yelled as she grabbed both of them and brought them into a crushing hug, mashing them against her massive breasts. Shushu, see can't be breath. Sakura gasped out as her and Naruto started to turn blue. Sorry you too, Tsunade said as she let them go. I'm just so happy to see that you're okay. Yup, we're alright Bachan. Naruto said with a grin. Well, let me finish up here then we can start heading back to the village. Tsunade said as she turned around started directing troops again. After a few hours of assisting troops, Tsunade and the rest of Konoha's forces started making their way back home. As they neared the village gates, Naruto had just finished explaining what had happened while everyone was in the infinite Tsukuyomi. I see. Tsunade said hearing the end of Naruto's explanation. Then I really have to congratulate you Kaki. You did a damn fine job. Thanks, Bachan. Naruto said as the village gates came into view. There was already crowd gathered at the gates. As soon as the returning shinobi came into view, the crowd burst into loud cheers. All the returning shinobi dispersed amongst the crowd to see their loved ones and celebrate. Ino slowly made her way through the crowd with her head down. She just wanted to get home and see her mom. But as she walked she bumped into someone. Muttering a quick apology, Ino tried to walk around the person. But she was stopped when the person placed a hand on her shoulder. When she looked at the person, she was met with the face of her father. Daddy? Ino said as tears welled up in her eyes. Yes it's me. Inoichi said as his daughter broke down and hugged him. How are you alive? Ino asked as she cried into Inoichi's chest. I'm guessing it has something to do with that young man there. Inoichi said as he pointed to Naruto, who was surrounded by a group of cheering villagers. Naruto, I can't thank you enough for this. But I will repay you somehow. Ino thought as she clutched a hand to her heart as she gazed at Naruto. She was starting to see Naruto in a new light. While Ino reunited with her father, Shikamaru was nearing the Nara compound. As Shikamaru was about to walk in the front door a soft click stopped him. He walked around the corner and saw his father silently setting up a game of shogi. Dad? Shikamaru said as he hesitantly made his way closer. Yes, son I'm alive and I'm as surprised as you, Shikaku said as he turned to face his son. I believe it has something to do with Naruto. Naruto, you troublesome bastard. Shikamaru thought as few tears fell from his eyes. Now why don't you sit down and play a game with your old man? Let's see if you're as smart as everyone says. Shikaku said with a small smirk. Quickly wiping his tears Shikamaru sat down across from his father and the two sat silently and enjoyed each other's company. It was starting to get late and Naruto decided to walk Sakura home after they had been celebrating. The two walked silently and enjoyed the comfortable silence. As soon as Naruto and Sakura stepped onto the front steps, the door to the house burst open. Sakura. Mibuyuki and Kizashi yelled as they snatched their daughter and hugged her. Hi mom, hi dad. Sakura said as she returned the hug. Come on Sakura, you must be exhausted. Kizashi said as he started to lead his daughter away. I'll see you tomorrow Sakura-chan. Naruto said as he made his way down the steps. But just before he reached the street he heard someone clear their throat. Turning Naruto saw Mibuyuki standing in the doorway, staring at him. Is there something I can help you with Haruno-san? Naruto asked politely. Please Naruto call me Mibuyuki, the blonde said. I just want to know what happened between you and my daughter. Naruto started sweating bullets when he heard this. What makes you think something happened? Naruto asked nervously. Call it a mother's intuition, now talk. Mibuyuki said putting her hands on her hips. I thinks it's best if Sakura tells you, Naruto said. Just as Mibuyuki was about to question Naruto further he poofed into a cloud of smoke. Nikage Bushin, when did he do that? Mibuyuki thought with a sigh as she closed the door and walked into her home. In a nearby alley Naruto was breathing heavily. Man that was close, Naruto thought as he left the alley. Now I need to get home, there's still 2 people I need to find. After a home-cooked meal and a long explanation Sakura was heading upstairs for some much-needed sleep. Good night Sakura. Mibuyuki called from downstairs. Good night mom, Sakura said, but before she walked into her room, she remembered something. Oh and mom Kushina says hi. Saying that Sakura walked into her room. Downstairs in the kitchen, Mibuyuki immediately stopped what she was doing. How can she know Kushina, she's been dead for 17 years, Mibuyuki thought as a few tears fell from her eyes. Sakura what aren't you telling me? Naruto was walking up the steps to his apartment but he stopped when he saw 2 figures leaning against the railing outside his door. He could hear that the 2 of them were talking quietly. Hey Konan, Ryuzetsu. Naruto said as he walked over to the 2 kunoichi. I've been looking all over for you too. Konan was no longer wearing her Akatsuki cloak. She now wore a form-fitting blue kimono that showed off her curves generously. Ryuzetsu was still wearing the same outfit Naruto last saw her in, minus her green bandana. But the hole where Miyuki had stabbed her was gone. Hello Naruto, Konan said as she bowed slightly. Hey Naruto, Ryuzetsu said as she walked up to him. I'm guessing it was you who brought us back to life. Yeah that was me, Naruto said as he scratched the back of his head. I had to save you guys, since you both sacrificed your lives to save mine. We did it because this world needs you Naruto, Konan said as she approached him. Nagato and I both knew that. That's why we were willing to give our lives for you to achieve peace in this world. Yes, you're this world's guiding light. Ryuzetsu said with a smile. Thank you both so much. Naruto said as he pulled them both into a hug. Well why don't we head inside? You two can stay with me until you find your own places, Naruto said opening his door. Then tomorrow we can go see Tsunade and get you both enlisted as Kohona shinobi. Sounds like a plan. Ryuzetsu said as she walked into the small apartment. Why not, I got nothing waiting for me back in Omegakure. Konan said as she walked through the door. After a homemade meal, courtesy of Konan, and a few hours of small talk Naruto set his bed up for his guests. Ryuzetsu and Konan at first didn't accept the offer, but Naruto refused to make his guest sleep on his couch. As Naruto slept on the couch, nightmares started to crowd his dreams. "HN, you're so annoying. I'll shut you up for good this time." Sasuke said as flashed forward and stabbed Sakura in the chest. Her blood splattering Naruto's face. Then Naruto. Sakura said as she fell forward, dead. "You're next, dope." Sasuke said, his arm coated in electricity. Naruto just stood there shell-shocked as Sasuke's arm shot forward. Just before Sasuke's arm pierced Naruto's chest, he shot up on the couch drenched in a cold sweat. Naruto sat on the couch panting as he relived the previous day's events. It felt so real, Naruto thought as sat up. A nagging feeling him slip on his jacket and sandals. I know she's alright, but I have to be sure. Naruto thought as he walked out his door toward Sakura's house. Naruto arrived at Sakura's home and immediately jumped up to her balcony. Looking through the sliding glass doors, Naruto spotted Sakura sleeping soundly in her bed. Naruto just sat there watching her for a few minutes. "Homie, she's beautiful while she sleeps," Naruto thought just before he stood up to leave. But just as Naruto was about to leave, he saw Sakura start to thrash in her bed. "Sasuke, no." Sakura yelled as tears streamed down her face. Naruto immediately opened the sliding door and took Sakura in his arms. "SHH Sakura-chan, it's alright, I'm here," Naruto said trying to soothe Sakura. Then Naruto, "Thank Kami you're here," Sakura said as she cried into his chest. "I was having a terrible nightmare. I kept reliving Sasuke killing me over and over again. I was having the same dream," Naruto said as he held Sakura close. "But I'm here now and I will never let anything like that happen to you again." After letting Sakura hold him for a few more minutes, Naruto stood to leave. But he was stopped when Sakura grabbed his arm. "Please Naruto, don't go," Sakura said as she started to shake lightly. "I don't think I can go back to sleep by myself." Naruto looked rather nervous at this offer, but he saw the fear in Sakura's eyes. "Sure Sakura-chan," Naruto said as he kicked off his sandals and climbed into bed with Sakura. "Good night Naruto, I love you," Sakura said as she lay facing Naruto. "I love you too Sakura-chan," Naruto said as he kissed Sakura's forehead, his lips surrounding the purple seal on her head. "Good night." With a smile Sakura turned her back to Naruto and got closer to him. Letting his arms wrap around her and pull her closer to him. Naruto awoke the next day after having the best sleep in his entire life. When he looked down, Naruto saw that Sakura was still asleep. He looked at the clock and saw that it was still early in the morning. Don't have to be up for a few more hours. Might as well sleep in for once," Naruto thought as his eyes slowly started to close again. But just as Naruto was drifting off to sleep, a loud pounding at Sakura's front door woke both Sakura and him up. "Naruto. I know you're in there you asshole." Naruto ran to the balcony and looked for who was pounding at the door. When he looked he spotted 3 people standing in front of Sakura's home. Karen, Sujetsu, and Jugo. Shit, he was on for a rough morning. One thought ran through Naruto's mind as he looked at Karen, Sujetsu, and Jugo. This is gonna fucking suck, Naruto thought as he prepared to jump down. Naruto knew what to expect from Karen because he had spent some time around her. But Sujetsu and Jugo were wild cards, he didn't know what to expect from them. "Boy. What the hell do you think you're doing?" "I was sleeping," Naruto said as he rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. Instantly Karen's head snapped towards Naruto. You get down here right fucking now," Karen yelled furiously as she gestured for Naruto to come down. Just then Sakura walked up behind Naruto. "What the hell is going out here?" Sakura said in an irritated tone. Then she looked down and spotted the remaining members of Team Taka. "Oh hell, this is gonna get ugly," Sakura said as she placed her hand on Naruto's shoulder. "You need me to come down there with you?" "Nah, you just go and keep your parents out of this," Naruto said as he gave Sakura a quick kiss before he jumped down to the street. As soon as his feet hit the ground, he had to dodge a punch from Karen. "Stay still you bastard," Karen yelled as she tried to hit Naruto, but he easily dodged each one. Getting tired of dodging, Naruto grabbed Karen's fist, effectively stopping her assault. She tried to swing her other fist, but Naruto caught that one too. "Are you done?" Naruto asked in a bored tone. Karen just growled and tried to headbutt Naruto, but he just leaned back so that she completely missed. "You good now?" Naruto asked as noticed teardrops hitting the ground. "Why? Why did you kill Sasuke-kun?" Karen yelled in Naruto's face. "You want to know why I killed that bastard?" Naruto asked just as upset as her. Yes. Karen yelled as she struggled against Naruto's grasp. I'll tell you if you calm the fuck down and don't try to kill me. Naruto said as he started to loosen his grip. Karen thought for a minute before she took a deep breath and nodded. Naruto let Karen go and started his explanation. You probably don't know what Sasuke planned to do, Naruto said as he took a deep breath. He planned to kill all the Kage, the Bijuu and me. Why would he do that? Sujetsu asked as he walked up next to Karen. Yes, that doesn't make sense, Sasuke had given up on his revenge before we arrived on the battlefield. Jugo said as he stood on the other side of Karen. Sasuke believed that the Kage and the Bijuu were the cause of all the wars and violence between the elemental nations. He wanted to destroy and rebuild. Naruto explained, causing Jugo and Sujetsu to go wide-eyed. Karen however wasn't swayed and was still extremely upset. Then why couldn't you just talk him out of it? Karen said as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Don't you think we tried, Naruto said in an annoyed tone. But the stupid team wouldn't listen. Naruto took a deep breath to calm himself before he explained the next part. However, the main reason I had to kill Sasuke was, Naruto paused and clenched his fists. Because he killed Sakura. Sujetsu gasped and Jugo seemed mildly surprised. Karen was momentarily shaken before she continued. But that pink-haired slut is still alive. Karen yelled as she gestured up to Sakura's room. Hearing someone insult Sakura caused something in Naruto to snap. Don't you ever talk about Sakura-chan like that again. Naruto yelled as he got in Karen's face. And for you information, the only reason she's alive is because of this. Naruto channeled chakra into his left eye and activated his Rinnegan. Seeing that Naruto had the Rinnegan made all three of them flinch in fear. I had to bring her back from the dead. Naruto yelled as he tried to calm his anger. Taking a deep breath he continued. You know you should be thanking me, because if it wasn't for me you'd still be in that damn genjutsu. But that doesn't make sense, that's not the Sasuke-kun I knew. Karen said as she started to cry. Naruto walked up to Karen and placed a hand on her shoulder. Karen, I know you loved Sasuke, but he didn't love you. Sasuke didn't love anyone, he wanted to isolate himself in darkness, Naruto said as he tried to comfort Karen. He would have sacrificed you in a heartbeat to advance his goal. And if I remember right, he did try and kill you once. Karen only sobbed more as Naruto brought up that painful memory. Why are you being so nice to me? Karen asked, but Naruto's response shocked her. Hey, family has to stick together, right? Naruto said with a grin. What do you mean, family? Karen asked wide-eyed. Karen, what's your last name? Naruto asked as gave Karen a warm smile. It's Uzamaki, why? Karen asked, not following. Well, you're looking at Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said with extreme pride. You're in Uzumaki. Karen said as her eyes lit up. Yep, so we're family. Naruto said with a massive smile. Wow, I have family. Karen said with a smile as tears of joy fell from her eyes. She then grabbed Naruto and hugged him. I have a family. Naruto hugged her back and let her cry into his shoulder. Karen, I know you're going through rough times now, but if you stay in the village I promise I'll help you through it, Naruto said as he looked Karen in her red eyes. Plus with your sensory abilities and your healing powers you'd be a huge asset to the village. I'll even ask Sakura-chan to help train you in medical ninjutsu. Karen thought for a moment, she really didn't have anywhere else to go. Plus Naruto was right, she had family here and she could be of use. Okay Naruto, you got a deal. Karen said happily. Then Naruto turned to Sujetsu and Jugo. So what are you guys gonna do? Naruto asked. I guess I could head back to Kiri and see if they'll let me back into the village. Sujetsu said with a shrug as he sipped his water. I still need to get my murderous temptations under control. So I'll try and find Orochimaru-sama and see if he can assist me. Jugo said in a monotone voice. Karen turned to her two Taka teammates. Well guys, I guess this is goodbye. I know we didn't always get along, but it was still fun. Karen said as she hugged Sujetsu and Jugo. You two be sure to come see me. Both of them nodded and started walking towards the village gates. Naruto then turned to Karen. Well, let's go tell Tsunade-bachan that you want to enlist as a ninja, Naruto said as he turned to leave with Karen in tow. Oh, we'll also have to stop by my place real quick to pick a couple people up, then we'll go. As Naruto and Karen walked down the street, Sakura was watching from her balcony with a smile on her face. Naruto, is there anything you can't do? Sakura thought as she walked into her room to get ready, she had to meet Tsunade-sama too. She quickly dressed and made herself some breakfast. As Sakura was about to run out the door, she was stopped by her mother. Wait, Sakura, before you go. I need to ask you something. Mibuyuki said as she walked up to her daughter. Sure mom, what's up? Sakura said in a confused voice. How do you know Kushina? She's been dead 17 years and I know I didn't tell you about her. Mibuyuki said, worry evident in her eyes. Sakura took a deep breath, she might as well tell her. After we defeated Kaguya, Sasuke wanted to kill the cage and Naruto, Sakura said, causing Mibukki to gasp. I tried to talk him out of it but he wouldn't listen. So he called me annoying, then Heathen heck killed me. Mibukki turned ghostly white when she heard this and she looked like she was gonna pass out. He dead, Mibukki stammered out as she braced herself against the wall. Yeah, well I was Didi met Kushina and her husband Minato. We talked and they helped me realize my feelings for Naruto. Sakura said as she thought back to her talk with Kushina. Then that means Naruto brought you back to life, Mibukki said to herself. Thank you Naruto, thank you for always protecting my little girl. Mibukki thought as a few tears fell from her eyes. Mom, it's alright, I'm fine now. Sakura said, trying to soothe her mother. No, it's not that, dear. Just thank Naruto for me and be sure to give him all your love. Mibukki said as she wiped her tears. Sakura smiled and nodded before she ran out the door towards the Hokage tower. Mibukki smiled as she looked up. Kushina, even in death you're looking out for me and my family, thank you. Mibukki thought with a smile. 30 minutes later. After picking up Konan and Ryuzetsu and after explaining where he was all night, Naruto led the three Kunoichi into the Hokage tower. When they reached Tsunade's door, Naruto reached out and knocked. After a few moments Tsunade's voice echoed out. Enter. Naruto opened the door and led the three Kunoichi inside. Naruto, what can I do for you? Tsunade asked, happy to see her favorite knucklehead. Well, Bach and these three wanna enlist as Kohona shinobi. Naruto said, gesturing to Konan, Ryuzetsu, and Karen. Do they now? Tsunade said as she leaned back in her chair. Well, tell me your skills and your experience and I will determine if you're capable to be shinobi. Because to be honest we have lost very few shinobi in the war thanks to Naruto, but we were already severely undermanned before the war even began. So Karen, Konan, and Ryuzetsu all listed their former village, rank, skills, and experience. Very interesting, you're all very qualified. Tsunade leaned forward and looked all three women in the eyes. Looking for any hints of weakness, seeing none she leaned back in her chair. Alright, you're all in. Shizune, take them to fill out some paperwork, then give them their vests and headbands. Shizune nodded and led the three women out of the office. Naruto watched the three of them leave and was about to walk out himself, but Tsunade stopped him. Wait Gaki, I still got more to tell you. Sakura, Kakashi, Yamato, and Team 9 should be here momentarily. Tsunade said just as there was a knock at the door. Yelling for the person to enter, the door opened to reveal everyone she had just mentioned. All you come in here, I have some good news and some bad news. Everyone walked in and stood in front of Tsunade's desk. Well, I'll tell you the good news first. As you all know, I'm getting old, this earned denial from everyone. Shut up and let me talk. I've lived a long life and I've seen a lot of things. I've fought in 2 wars and seen a lot of people close to me die. Taking a deep breath, Tsunade made her big announcement. I decided I'm gonna step down as Hokage. This earned gasps from everyone in the room. So who's gonna take your place? Naruto asked with hope in his eyes. I've decided that Kakashi will be taking my place. Tsunade said, causing everyone's heads to snap towards the stunned man. Me? Kakashi said, utterly shocked he was picked and Naruto wasn't. Yes Kakashi, you've got good skills in politics and you're known around the shinobi world. Plus you're one of the strongest shinobi this village has to offer. Tsunade said as she turned to Naruto. I know you're probably upset Naruto, but you need to improve your political skills before you can be Hokage. Everyone turned to Naruto, who for a moment had a flash of disappointment in his eyes. But then he got a massive grin on his face. I understand Bachan, congratulations Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said as he smiled at his sensei. Wow, he's taking this very well. Kakashi thought as he looked at his student. Tsunade smiled as she saw how well Naruto was taking the news. But then her expression changed to one of sadness as she looked at Team 9. Team 9, Tsunade said, causing Neji, Tenten, and Lee to face her. I have some bad news for you guys. What is it Tsunade-sama? Neji asked, not liking the tone of Tsunade's voice. That guy can't be a shinobi anymore. This caused everyone's eyes to widen. He suffered serious injuries to his spine and he will be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Neji and Tenten's eyes fell to floor as they thought of their sensei. But Lee was nearly in tears, but then a look of determination spread across his face. You guys, we cannot be sad, it is not what Guy-sensei would want. We cannot let our flames of youth die out. Now let's go visit Guy-sensei and give him our support. Lee's sudden declaration brought some life back into Neji and Tenten. With a cheer, Lee ran out the door with Neji and Tenten close behind, all three determined to help their sensei. Well, that's bushy brows for you. He can make light of almost any situation. Naruto said with a smile. Naruto, there's one more thing I need to discuss with you. Tsunade then looked at Kakashi, Yamato, and Sakura. In private. Getting the hint, the three left the room and closed the door. But as Kakashi and Yamato walked down the hall, Sakura pressed her ear against the door. "Aki, I know about you and Sakura," Tsunade said, causing Naruto to sweat bullets. "And I couldn't be happier," she said with a smile. Naruto let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "But you know that you're the last Namikaze and the last male Uzumaki," Tsunade said, confusing Naruto. "Yeah, of course I know that," Naruto said, not following Tsunade. "Well, I was digging through some old files and I came across something that can help you rebuild your clans. It's called the CRA, or Clan Restoration Act. It will allow you to take multiple wives," Tsunade said, causing Naruto to tense. "Bachan, I don't want to force girls to marry me," Naruto said, taking a seat in front of Tsunade's desk. "No, Naruto, we won't be forcing any girls, it will all be voluntary. And you'll be the one who chooses the girls," Tsunade said, causing Naruto ease up. "Okay, Bachan, I'll talk with Sakura about it," Naruto said with a smile as he jumped out the open window. He needed to talk with someone. "Ugh, Jiraiya, that kid is gonna live out your perverted dreams," Tsunade thought with a sigh as she remembered Jiraiya. Outside the door, Sakura stood thinking about what she just heard. She really didn't want to share Naruto, but she knew that other girls loved Naruto. So with a look of determination she dashed out of the tower. She had a plan to enact. Sakura never noticed Anko sitting just outside the open window Naruto jumped out of. "So the Gaki is gonna be on the market, I like the sound of that," Anko thought as she licked her lips. Naruto landed outside the Hyuga estate. After what he just learned, he needed to talk with Hinata. He quickly walked up to one of the guards at the gate. "Hi, I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I'm here to see Hinata," Naruto said as he approached the gates. The guard eyed Naruto up and down and motioned for Naruto to follow him. As they walked through the main house, the man pointed to a door down a hallway. "That is her room at the end of the hall on the right," the man said before he returned to his post. Naruto thanked the man and started to walk down the hall. But just before he reached Hinata's door, someone grabbed him and pulled him into a side room. When Naruto spun to see who grabbed him, he was surprised to see Neji. "Neji, what do you want?" Naruto asked, slightly annoyed. "Naruto, I need to talk with you about Tenten," Neji said as he motioned for Naruto to sit down. "What about Tenten?" Naruto asked, interested in what Neji had to say. "I know about Tsunade-sama enacting the CRA for you," Neji said, shocking Naruto. "How do you know about that already?" Naruto asked, stunned that Neji already knew. "We live in a ninja village, Naruto, info travels remarkably fast," Neji explained as if it was obvious. "Okay, fine, I guess I can believe that, but what does this have to do with Tenten?" Naruto asked, starting to catch on. "I want you to give Tenten a chance," Neji said. As Naruto was about to object, Neji stopped him. "I know you probably think she loves me, but I could never offer her the love she truly deserves. I've seen her give you these looks of great admiration, they're the same looks she gives me. Please, Naruto, just think about it, I want Tenten to be happy." Naruto thought for a moment and decided to give it a try. "Sure, Neji, I'll give Tenten a chance," Naruto said with a smile. "Thank you, Naruto," Neji said as he shook Naruto's hand. Naruto exited the room and walked the rest of the way to Hinata's room. He knocked on her door, there was the sound of shuffling footsteps before the door opened. When Hinata opened the door, the last thing she expected to see was Naruto standing there. "Then Naruto-kun," Hinata stuttered out, surprised to see Naruto. "Hi Hinata-chan, can I talk to you?" Naruto asked to a stunned Hinata. "That's sure thing, Naruto-kun," Hinata said as she led Naruto into her room. They took a seat on her bed facing each other. "Hinata-chan, I need to talk with you about your confession," Naruto said, making Hinata turn red. "Oh, Kami, what is he gonna say?" Hinata thought as she tried to keep herself from fainting. "But before you get your hopes up too high, Hinata-chan, I'm with Sakura-chan." This caused Hinata's face to drop as she tried to hide her sadness. But she felt Naruto cup her chin and raise her head. "Please Hinata-chan, just hear me out." Hinata hesitated for a moment, but she nodded. "Hinata-chan, Tsunade Bachan enacted this thing called the Clan Restoration Act." Hearing this piqued Hinata's interest. "This will allow me to have multiple wives. I just wanted to let you know that if Sakura-chan is okay with this, that you'll be the first person I ask. Because I care for you greatly, Hinata, and I want to see you happy," Naruto said, causing a massive smile to grace Hinata's face. Hinata then wrapped her arms around Naruto. "Thank you so much, Naruto-kun, I'm so happy you care so much for me," Hinata said as she hugged Naruto tightly. Naruto released Hinata from the hug and gave her a kiss on the cheek. Instantly Hinata's face burned bright red as she touched a hand to her cheek. "I'll see you soon, Hinata." With that, Naruto was out the door and on his way home. As soon as the door closed, Hinata promptly fell unconscious. "I wonder where Sakura-chan is?" Naruto asked himself as he opened his door. Naruto walked into his apartment and was surprised to see it empty. "Where are Konan and Ryuzetsu?" Naruto thought as he spotted as a light streaming out of his bedroom. Suspecting an intruder, Naruto grabbed a hidden kunai and snuck towards his door. Slowly pushing it open, Naruto was surprised to see Sakura sitting on his bed wearing just a pink bathrobe. Sakura-chan, what are you doing here, and where are Konan and Ryuzetsu? Naruto asked. He tried to fight off his blush. I sent Konan and Ryuzetsu out for a while. I needed to speak with you in private. Sakura said as she stood and approached Naruto. What do you want to talk about? Naruto asked as Sakura wrapped her arms around his neck. I overheard you and Tsunade-sama discussing the Kra earlier. Hearing this caused Naruto flinch. But before you start to worry, I'm okay with it. Oh really? Naruto asked, not believing his ears. I'm okay with it as long as I can be your first. Sakura said as she captured Naruto's lips with hers. That was amazing. Sakura said as she snuggled up closer to Naruto. You took the words right out of my mouth. Naruto said as he kissed the top of Sakura's head. I love you, Naruto. Sakura said as she drifted off to sleep. I love you too, Sakura-chan, Naruto said as he wrapped his arms around her and pressed her naked body against his. Naruto slowly drifted off to sleep with Sakura in his arms. But he knew now that Sakura wouldn't be the only girl he would be doing this with. Disclaimer. I don't own Naruto Kishimoto TOES, even though he most certainly shouldn't. Naruto woke as light streamed in from his window. He had the best dream of his entire life last night. He dreamed that he had come home to find Sakura waiting for him and they had made love. But as Naruto tried to lift his arm to stretch, he felt a weight on one of his arms. He looked and he saw Sakura laying there, her pink hair splayed across the pillow and a content smile on her face. Naruto then noticed that Sakura was completely naked under the sheet and his eyes widened when the memories of last night came flooding back. So it wasn't a dream. Naruto thought as a smile spread across his face. He started to lovingly stroke Sakura's hair. This caused her to lean into his touch. After a few minutes of this, Sakura started to wake up. With a quick stretch and a cute yawn, she slowly opened her eyes. When she turned her head, she saw Naruto looking down at her with pure joy in his eyes. Sakura smiled and quickly closed the distance between them and kissed him on the lips. Good morning, Naruto. Sakura said as she slowly pulled away. Good morning, Sakura-chan. Naruto said in a slightly dreamy tone. Sakura noticed this and decided to tease him. Well, I'm gonna take a shower, Sakura said as she got up and walked toward the bathroom, still nude. As she walked, she put some sway into her hips. But she stopped and turned to Naruto once she reached the bathroom's doorway. Feel free to join me. Naruto sat in his bed shocked for a moment. Had Sakura just implied what he thought she had? But he was shaken from his thoughts when he heard the shower start. With speed that would make his father jealous, Naruto had sprinted into the bathroom and quickly jumped into the shower. Now let's actually get clean. Sakura said as she reached for the soap. As they started to clean each other off, Naruto noticed something he hadn't seen before on Sakura's left arm. Sakura, when did you get a tattoo? Naruto asked as he spotted the red and orange lines on Sakura's arm. Huh, what are you talking about? Sakura asked as she looked at her arm. She was surprised to see 3 horizontal lines wrapping around her left arm, just below her shoulder. 2 red lines with an orange one in between. That's new. Sakura said as she started to trace 2 lines. Then it clicked for Naruto. It must be because of Kurama. Naruto said as he traced the lines on Sakura's arm. He told me to bite your neck. I guess that makes sense, but what does this mean? Sakura said as he gestured towards the lines. It must mark you as my mate. Naruto said with a smile. Hearing this made a smile spread across Sakura's face as she looked at the lines across her arm. She was Naruto's now and forever and she couldn't be happier. After cleaning up, Naruto made both of them breakfast and much to Sakura's surprise, it was actually pretty good. Once the meal was finished, Naruto started walking Sakura towards the hospital. So what are you gonna do today? Naruto asked as they walked towards the hospital hand in hand. Well, I was gonna take Karen along with me on my shift and show her the ropes. Then I was gonna go out with Ino after work for a bit. Sakura said as they neared the hospital. What about you? Well, I was gonna go talk to Hinata again, then I was gonna train with my Rinnegan. Naruto said as they stopped in front of the hospital. Okay, Sakura said as tried to hide her jealousy. Sure, she agreed to let him start to crawl, but it would take time for her to adjust. Well, I'll see you later. Before Sakura could enter the hospital, Naruto grabbed her arm and pulled her into a kiss. Naruto ran his hands through her hair as they kissed. When they parted, Sakura was left breathless. You should grow your hair out again. I always loved your long pink hair. Naruto said as ran his hands through her pink strands. Sakura's face turned as pink as her hair when she heard this. She lightly punched him in the arm and turned to walk into the hospital, but when she opened the door she stopped. I'll think about it. With that, Sakura stepped into the hospital, leaving Naruto with a massive grin on his face. Sakura quickly spotted Karen waiting for her in the lobby. Karen now wore a chunin vest over her normal outfit and she had a kahona headband wrapped around her arm. But when Sakura walked up, she noticed Karen had a big smirk on her face. "What?" Sakura asked, somewhat agitated. "Looks like someone had some fun last night," Karen said, causing Sakura to madly blush. What are you talking about?" Sakura stuttered out. "How the fuck does she know?" Sakura frantically thought. "Don't even try to deny it," Karen said with a knowing tone. "I can tell by your chakra, it's much warmer and brighter. Also there's a hint of the Kyuubi's chakra in you." "Fuck, I forgot she could sense things like that," Sakura thought as she berated herself for forgetting that detail. "Ami, you're so stupid sometimes," inner Sakura chastised. "You don't mention a word to anyone." "I don't need this getting out yet," Sakura said as she stood in front of Karen. "Now come on, I have a lot to show you." "Yes ma'am," Karen said with that large smirk still plastered on her face. Sakura had a smirk of her own as she led Karen through the hospital. "I hope you're ready, Karen, because just like Tsunade Shishu, I'm going to make your life a living hell with this training." Naruto was walking towards the Hyuga estates, enjoying the nice day. But when he was about 2 blocks away, he was grabbed and dragged into an alley. Naruto quickly entered Bijuu mode to try and fight off his attacker. But he was shocked to see it was Anko who had grabbed him. "Easy Gaki, calm down," Anko said, slightly worried of what might have happened. "Okay, so maybe grabbing Naruto and dragging him into an alley wasn't the best idea." "Oh sorry Anko-sensei, you scared me," Naruto said as he dropped his Bijuu mode. "Drop the sensei thing, kid, just call me Anko," the purple-haired woman said as she released Naruto from her grasp. "Sure thing Anko," Naruto said with a smile. "So what did you want?" Hearing this made Anko blush. Wait. Was Naruto seeing things? Anko was actually blushing. Well, I was wondering, Anko tried to say, but she started to stutter like a shy little girl. Now Naruto knew something was up, Anko never stuttered. "Anko, what's wrong?" Naruto asked as he put a hand on his shoulder. Anko looked at Naruto's arm and she seemed to relax. I heard Tsunade-sama put you in the craw. I was just outside the window listening in on the conversation, Anko said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. "And I was wondering if you'd give me a chance to be one of your wives. I just want a chance to prove myself to you." Naruto was shocked to say the least. Anko was one of the last people he'd expect to want to be with him. Well, I don't know," Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his nervously. "Please, Naruto, just give me a chance. One date, that's all I'm asking for." Anko said, her eyes pleading, she looked like she was gonna cry. Naruto looked into her pleading eyes and he knew he couldn't deny her. He looked at her and his eyes softened. "Sure thing Anko-chan," Naruto said with a large smile. Anko was elated that he'd give her a chance, and when she heard him add the chan to her name, her heart beat faster. A few tears of joy escaped her eyes. "Thank you, Naruto," Anko said happily as she wrapped her arm around him. Naruto was surprised at first, but he did return the hug. Quickly wiping her tears, she looked at Naruto and almost got lost in his eyes. "Meet me at my usual dango shop in 2 days, at 3 o'clock. Don't be late, Gaki." Anko quickly pecked Naruto on the cheek before she jumped onto the roof's tops. When she was gone, Naruto leaned against the alley wall and held his rapidly beating heart. "That woman is seriously crazy, I never know what she's gonna do next," Naruto said as a smile graced his lips. "And that's what I love about her." But then Naruto exited the alley and continued to making his way towards the Hyuga estates. After his encounter with Anko, Naruto once again stood in front of the Hyuga estate's main gate. Like last time, the guard led him through the halls, but this time he was led to a different room. "Hinata-sama is training through those doors," the guard said before he left. Naruto quietly opened the doors and stepped inside. He quickly spotted Hinata practicing her Gyuukin fighting style. Her movements were graceful and elegant, almost as if she was dancing. He watched entranced by her movements. It was then that he noticed Hinata had stopped. Hinata had stopped her training and was taking a breather. She nearly jumped out of her skin when she heard someone clapping behind her. She spun around and saw her longtime crush standing there. There was only one reason he would be here so soon. He had received his answer from Sakura and he was here to tell her what she had said. "Oh, hello Naruto-kun," Hinata said as Naruto started to walk towards her. "Hi Hinata-chan, you were amazing out there. You look so graceful and at the same time so deadly," Naruto said with a big grin, making Hinata blush bright red. "I'm guessing Sakura-sen gave you her answer," Hinata said, the anticipation killing her. "Yeah, she did," Naruto said as he took a deep breath. "Oh no, why is he taking a breath? No, it must be because she said no," Hinata thought as tears threatened to fall from her eyes. But to her utter and complete shock, Naruto cupped her chin and kissed her. All thoughts left Hinata's mind as she quickly returned to kiss and fought desperately to not faint. After the best few moments of her life, Hinata felt Naruto break their kiss. She said yes. Naruto said as he ran his fingers through Hinata's long hair. Hinata was overjoyed when she heard this. She now had a chance to always be there for Naruto, and she would not blow this chance. You know Hinata, I've wanted to do that for a while. Naruto said as he leaned his forehead against hers. Oh really? She asked surprised. Yeah, ever since you stood up to pain you've had a special place in my heart. Naruto said with a smile. Oh, Naruto-kun. Hinata yelled as she kissed him again. This time the kiss was much more intense. She felt him lick her bottom lip, getting the hint she opened her mouth. Instantly Naruto's tongue was wrestling with hers. Hinata was in heaven as they kissed, his lips felt perfect on hers. Naruto wanted to continue, he wanted to take Hinata to her room and show her the love she deserved. But now was not the time, he liked Hinata a lot, but he needed to get to know her better first. He broke the kiss much to Hinata's disapproval. Hinata-chan, I'm gonna take you out tomorrow and we're gonna go on a date, Naruto said, earning a happy squeak from Hinata. I'll pick you up here at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Hinata just dumbly nodded. It was all she could manage as her mind processed all amazing things that had just happened to her. I'll see you tomorrow, Hinata-chan. Naruto said as he gave Hinata a kiss on the cheek before he walked out of the room. As soon as Naruto left the room, Hinata passed out with a smile plastered on her face. Sakura sat at a small tea shop with Ino. Sakura's morning had been a living hell. Karen was smart and picked things up fast, but Kami could she get on her nerves. And Sakura knew that Karen had told a few people about what happened between her and Naruto. Because she had been getting strange looks from some of the nurses and doctors. Stupid Karen, I told her to keep her mouth shut. I'll make her pay for squealing later. Sakura thought angrily as she sipped her tea. Then there was Ino. She had been acting weird all day. Every time Sakura saw her, she had this distant look in her eyes. Much like she had now. It looked as if she was thinking about something important. Getting fed up, she decided to find out what was going on. Ino pig, what's up? Sakura asked, snapping Ino out of her daze. Huh, oh nothing forehead. Ino said as she took a sip from her tea. You're a horrible liar pig, now talk to me. Sakura said as she placed her hand on Ino's. Ino looked down at her hand and sighed. There's something I wanted to ask you. Ino said as she looked Sakura in the eyes. Sure, Ino, anything? Sakura said, dropping the pig from her name, seeing how serious she was being. I heard Tsunade-sama place Naruto in the craw, Ino said, causing Sakura to go wide-eyed. She almost choked on the tea in her mouth. And I wanted to ask you if I could have a chance to be one of Naruto's wives. Sakura was shocked to say the least. She certainly wasn't expecting that. But Sakura's eyes narrowed as she looked at Ino. Now Ino wasn't a slut, but she seemed to be interested in a new guy every week. Sakura didn't want Naruto to get into a relationship with Ino, only for her to move on to another guy. Why? Sakura asked more harshly than she intended. What do you mean? Ino asked, surprised by Sakura's response. Why do you want to be with Naruto? Ino, I've seen you jump from guy to guy and I don't want Naruto to be just a fling for you. Sakura said as she sipped her tea. Trust me Sakura, Naruto won't be just a fling. Ino said with a dry chuckle. Why? Sakura asked, her eyes narrowing. Because ever since he saved the village from pain, I get this tingling feeling in the pit of my stomach every time I'm around him, Ino said as her mind started to drift to thoughts of Naruto. I joked that I could fall for him back then, but after he held me and comforted me after the war, I've had this deep longing for him. Then after he brought back my father, I wanted to do everything in my power to make up for all the shit I've put him through. I want to make him happy, like the way he makes me happy. Sakura was almost in tears as she listened to Ino explain her feelings for Naruto. When Ino was finished, Sakura once again placed her hand on top of Ino's. Of course you can be one of Naruto's wives. There's no one else I'd rather share him with. Sakura said with a smile. Thank you forehead. Ino said as she leaned across the table and hugged Sakura. Sakura quickly hugged her best friend back. When Ino sat back in her seat, she seemed much happier and back to her old self. Soon they were both laughing and arguing like usual. After lunch they both went their separate ways. Sakura had to finish her shift at the hospital and continue teaching Karen. Ino had finished her shift at the hospital and was on her way towards her family flower shop. All along the way she was in deep thought, she had a date to plan. Team 7 training grounds. Naruto strode onto Team 7's old training ground. He was flooded with memories that brought a smile to his face. But his smile turned to a frown when he thought of Sasuke. He clenched his fist in anger when he thought of his former best friend. Why did you have to do that, you stupid team, Naruto said to himself. You could have come back with us and we could have been a team again. Now Naruto was clenching his fist so hard that he broke the skin of his palms. He could feel the Kyuubi's chakra starting to influence him as his anger grew. But he took a few breaths and calmed himself. I've got focus, I won't be able to train properly if I'm angry. Naruto thought as he channeled chakra into his left eye. Naruto opened his left eye and his blue Tomo Rinnegan appeared. Okay, let's see what this thing can do, Naruto said as he felt the Rinnegan's power course through him. First let's see if I can do that teleport thing Sasuke was doing. Naruto scanned for an object to switch with. He spotted a lone log across the field and he focused in on it. Seconds later Naruto found himself standing where the log was. Whoa. Naruto said in a low voice as he gazed at the log he switched with. He remembered Sasuke saying that the teleport only had a short range. Well, let's see if I can increase this thing's range. But if I can't then I can always learn Dad's Hiraishin Jutsu. Naruto thought as he prepared to continue his training. But before he could start again, he heard someone speak up behind him. You know I could help you train your Rinnegan. Naruto turned around to see Konan standing there. Konan was now dressed in standard Jonin apparel with her headband tied around her head. Oh hey Konan-chan. How are you? Naruto asked happy to see his blue-haired friend. I'm doing fine Naruto. Konan replied with small smile. How are you adjusting to life in the village? Naruto said as he turned off his Rinnegan. It was difficult at first, but I'm really starting to like it here. The people are all so nice and the shinobi are very helpful when I have questions. Konan said as she turned to gaze at the village walls behind them. Well that's great to hear. Naruto said with his trademark grin. As I was saying before, I can help you train with your Rinnegan. I learned a lot about how it works from Nagato and Yahiko. Konan said as she walked up to Naruto. Sure thing Konan-chan, any help will be great. Naruto said as he again channeled chakra into his left eye. Walking towards the middle of the field, Naruto started his training again. After training for a few hours, Naruto had mastered several new abilities thanks to his Rinnegan. He could now make a Rasen Shuriken with every chakra nature. He also learned all the major chakra points thanks to Konan, even though he couldn't use the Gyuukin, it was still good to know. Naruto had also mastered a few of the 6 paths technique. He could now push and repel attacks with ease, summon a few of the Rinnegan summons, and he could absorb chakra fairly well. Naruto now lay in the center of the field panting in exhaustion. As he lay there he felt someone sit down next to him. He turned his head and saw Konan sitting next to him, gazing up at the sky. You know you're just like them, Konan said with a smile as she continued to look at the sky. She looked down at Naruto to see him looking at her in confusion. She tried not to giggle at the face he was making. I'm talking about Yahiko and Nagato. You're just like them. Nagato had this undying determination to make his dreams of peace real, and Yahiko was a carefree and kind person. You've carried out both their wills, and I couldn't be more thankful, Konan said, but just as Naruto tried to speak, she choked back a sob. To miss them so much sometimes. Seeing that she was about to cry, Naruto quickly sat up and wrapped his arms around Konan. I know it's hard Konan-chan, just let it out, don't bottle up your feelings. Naruto said in soothing voice. Konan tried to fight the tears, she was a kunoichi damn it. But the pain that she had held in for so long burst out. She wrapped her arms around Naruto and openly wept into his chest. Why did they have to die? Nagato, Yahiko, and Jiraiya-sensei are all dead, I have no one left. Konan said in between sobs. You're wrong Konan-chan, you still have me, and I'll never leave you alone again. Naruto said in the most sincere voice Konan had ever heard. Konan looked into Naruto's eyes, and a wave of emotions flowed through her. She didn't understand what she was currently feeling for Naruto, but she knew it felt right. Then she said something that shocked him. Kiss me. Those 2 simple words raced through Naruto's mind. Oh, he wanted to kiss her, to take all her worries away. But he knew she didn't really want to, she was just confused about her emotions right now. Konan, I can't do that, you're confused right now. Naruto said as tried to push her away. Naruto please. Just one kiss, I have to know something. Konan said with pleading eyes. Naruto looked into her deep amber eyes. He saw all the emotion they held. Naruto had never truly noticed how beautiful Konan truly was. Hami, how did I never notice how stunning she is? Naruto thought as his eyes wandered to her lips. He gazed at her lips for a moment and he made his decision. Fuck it. Naruto thought as he leaned forward and captured her lips. Fireworks instantly exploded in Konan's head when she felt his lips on hers. He was so passionate and loving, he was making her melt. Her hands found their way to his hair and tangled themselves in his blonde locks. Naruto slowly lowered them to the ground. He started to lick her bottom lip, she understood what he wanted and opened her mouth. Her tongue instantly found his, and a wrestle for dominance began. Naruto's more experienced tongue eventually won, and he started to explore her mouth. When they broke the kiss they were both panting. Naruto looked at Konan, and he came to a conclusion. He wanted her to be with her forever, he wanted her bad. Konan, Naruto said, causing her to look at him with half-lidded eyes. Would you do me the honor of being one of my wives? Konan didn't even to wait to answer, as she launched herself at Naruto. Yes Naruto, of course I will. I love you. She said before she captured his lips again. After they broke the kiss Naruto again looked into her eyes. I love you too Konan. Naruto pecked her on the lips and helped her to her feet. Let's head home. Naruto said as he walked them home. The entire time Konan had her head leaning against Naruto's shoulder. After a peaceful walk through the village, Naruto and Konan stepped into his apartment. When they walked into the living room they spotted Ryuzetsu sitting on the couch, apparently waiting for them. Where were you two all day? She asked suspiciously. Konan was helping me train with my Rinnegan, that's all. Naruto said as he started to get nervous for some reason. Ryuzetsu looked and saw that their hands were intertwined. Her eyes narrowed and she looked jealous for some reason. Fine. She said harshly before she walked into the room she was sleeping in and slammed the door. Naruto and Konan just looked at each other and shrugged before heading off to do their own thing. Later that night Naruto lay awake on the couch. He couldn't fall asleep, his mind kept going over all the things that happened to him over the past few days. As he lay there he felt a chakra signature land on the roof. Naruto slowly got up and walked out his front door. He pumped some chakra into his legs and jumped onto the roof. When he landed he quickly spotted someone sitting on the edge of the roof as they gazed at the night sky. As he approached he recognized who the person was. Her long white hair was lightly blowing in the gentle night breeze. Ryuzetsu, what are you doing up here? Naruto asked as he sat next to her. He saw her stiffen when he spoke to her. I thought you'd be with your girlfriend. Ryuzetsu spat out harshly. Huh, what are you talking about? Naruto asked confused by her sudden anger. Shouldn't you be sleeping with Konan? Don't even try to deny, I know you two are together. She said a little less harshly. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard that. Now things were starting to make sense. I don't want to sound rude or anything. But why do you care if we're together? Naruto asked causing her head to snap towards him. It's just we did you choose her and not me Ryuzetsu nearly yelled in her frustration. Now Naruto was not expecting that. He thought she might have been a little jealous, but he wasn't expecting this. You became this world's guiding light and after we defeated Mewtwo you became my heart's guiding light. Ryuzetsu said as tears formed in her eyes. Naruto was completely taken aback by this. He had no idea that Ryuzetsu felt this strongly for him. But I guess I'm not good enough for you. Ryuzetsu said as she started to stand up. But she was stopped when Naruto reached out and grabbed her arm. Ryuzetsu-chan, don't you ever say that. You're an amazing woman and any guy would kill to be with you. It's just that I had no idea you felt this way, Naruto said as he cupped her cheek. I would love absolutely to be with you. Naruto looked into her pale ringed eyes and he saw worry and doubt in them. But what about Konan? She asked not wanting to break her new friend's heart. You must not have heard, but Tsunade-bachan placed me in the cra. Hearing this made Ryuzetsu's eyes widen. You'll have to share me, but we can still be together. Ryuzetsu looked into his eyes and saw that he was telling the truth. I may not like the idea of sharing him, but if it means I can be with him I'll deal with it. Ryuzetsu thought as she made up her mind. Okay Naruto, I'll give it a chance. She said with a small smile. Naruto grinned and started to get lost in her beautiful eyes. Eventually they were both leaning towards each other. Ryuzetsu was the one who actually initiated the kiss. She closed the last few inches and captured Naruto's lips. It wasn't a fierce or demanding kiss. It was a slow and loving one. The kiss didn't last long, they both broke apart and smiled at each other. Come on, let's head back inside, I'll stay with you both tonight. Naruto said as he held out his hand for Ryuzetsu to take. She smiled and accepted his hand. They both stood and walked back into Naruto's apartment. Where they both got into the bed with Konan and went to sleep with Naruto's arms wrapped around the both of them. The next day at 7 p.m. Naruto stood outside the Hyuga estates, waiting for Hinata. He had been planning this date for most of the day, he even dressed up a little for the date. He wore an orange button-up shirt with black dress pants. Naruto had tried to comb his hair, but after 5 minutes he gave up. As Naruto stood there he went over everything that had happened to him during the day. First he met with Sakura and told her about Konan, Ryuzetsu and Anko. She was surprised to say the least, but she was still happy for him. Then Naruto had spent some family bonding time with Karen. They had gotten to know each other a lot better. She could seriously get on Naruto's nerves at times, but he still loved her like a sister. After spending time with Karen, Naruto did some training with Kiba, Lee, and Neji. They all put up a good fight, but they were no match for Naruto's new powers. Just then the main gates opened and out stepped Hinata. She looked beautiful in the blue sundress that she was wearing. The dress was dark blue and went to the top of her knees. She wore little makeup, but where she did have it only enhanced her natural beauty. Naruto was enchanted by her. Hey Hinata-chan, you look beautiful. Naruto said as he greedily drank in her image. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Hinata said as her cheeks were tinged pink. Well, shall we get going? Naruto said as he offered her his arm. She smiled, nodded, and grabbed his arm. They walked through the village, talking quietly the whole way. Eventually they came to a stop in front of one of the most expensive restaurants in the village. Are you sure you can afford this place, Naruto-kun? It's pricey even for my family, Hinata said. She didn't want Naruto going broke for her. Don't worry, Hinata-chan, it won't be a problem, just trust me. Naruto said with his foxy grin. She nodded and let him lead her inside. The restaurant was lavishly decorated and the delicious smells from the kitchen wafted throughout the entire restaurant. Hinata was surprised to see Naruto walk up and simply ask for a table. The man he asked looked up and asked for a name and reservation. I don't have a reservation, but my name is Naruto Uzamaki. Naruto said, making the man go wide-eyed. Of course. Follow me, sir, madam. The man said as he gestured for Naruto and Hinata to follow him. Soon they were seated at a nice secluded table near the windows. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle when he saw Hinata's surprised face. A waiter quickly came and took their drink orders then left. Naruto-kun, how did you do that? Hinata asked, still surprised at their amazing table. Hey, what can I say, being the village hero has its perks. Naruto said with another grin. You certainly are a hero, Naruto-kun. Hinata said with a loving smile. Thanks, Hinata-chan, that means a lot to me. Naruto said as he returned her smile. The rest of the dinner went off without a hitch. Naruto learned that Hinata and him had a lot in common. They both shared difficult pasts. Naruto didn't have his parents, but Hinata was shunned by her father and clan, so she wasn't much better off. They both wanted to prove to others that they were strong and wanted to earn everyone's respect. Naruto was actually surprised that Hinata seemed to dominate most of the conversation. He thought that he would have to pry things out of her, but once he got her talking she barely stopped. After the amazing meal, Naruto led Hinata through the streets of Konoha. He still had one more stop on the date. Along the way they continued their conversation. Soon Hinata was surprised to see them standing on top of the Hokage monument. He led her towards the edge and they sat down, overlooking the entire village. It's truly beautiful, isn't it? Hinata asked as she gazed over the sprawling village. Not as beautiful as you. Naruto said, causing Hinata's face to heat up. Hinata turned to Naruto and suddenly captured his lips with hers. It was a gentle kiss that showed how much she truly cared for him. Hinata sighed when she broke the kiss and laid her head on Naruto's chest. The night was perfect, Naruto-kun. Hinata said with a content smile on her face. Yeah, it was. Naruto said as he held Hinata closer to him. Naruto-kun, I love you. Hinata said as she looked Naruto in the eyes. Naruto stared into her pale eyes and smiled. I love you too, Hinata-chan. Naruto said as he gave Hinata a chaste kiss on the lips. Hinata then returned to laying her head on Naruto's chest. They stayed like this for what seemed like hours, just holding each other close. Eventually Naruto knew that he had to get her home. But just as he was about to stand, he noticed that Hinata was lightly snoring. Naruto chuckled softly and lifted her, gently as possible, and carried her bridal style back towards her home. After an awkward explanation at the front gate, Naruto made his way through the estates. He found Hinata's room, where he expertly opened the door and gently laid her the bed and even tucked her in. Before he left he brushed the hair off her forehead and gave it a kiss. Good night, Hinata-chan. Naruto whispered as he walked towards the door. Naruto-kun. Hinata sighed as she got comfortable under her covers. Naruto smiled and exited the Hyuga estates towards his home. He never noticed that Sakura had been following them most of the night, observing how their date went. He also never noticed the smile that was on her face as she walked home. Next day, 2:45 p.m. Naruto was in the middle of the training when he suddenly felt like he was forgetting something. He reached into one of his pouches and pulled out a small watch. He checked the time and when he saw it he nearly turned white. He had completely forgotten his date with Anko and he had 15 minutes to get to the dango shop to meet her. Oh shit. Naruto yelled as he sprinted towards the village. He reached the village gates in record time. Izumo and Kitetsu were scared shitless when they saw the orange and yellow blur fly through the village gates. Should we even bother? Izumo lazily drawled out. Nah, Kitetsu said as he tried to get back to sleep. Naruto barreled through the streets pushing anyone who got in his way. As he rounded a corner he checked his watch again, 2:58. Oh Kami, he was still a few blocks away, he was gonna be late. Seeing no other option Naruto entered his Bijuu mode and ran as fast as his legs could take him. He rounded another corner and the dango shop came into view. Naruto picked up the pace. Once he was close enough he came to a skidding stop, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. When the dust cleared he saw Anko standing there. Anko turned and checked the clock on the wall. 3 o'clock on the dot, great timing Gaki. Anko said with a smirk. Naruto tried to grin as he stood there panting heavily. Well Gaki, we going inside or what? Anko said as she approached him. Naruto nodded still out of breath. Anko smiled and grabbed Naruto's and led him into the dango shop. Anko led Naruto through the dango shop towards a table near the back. They both sat down across from each other. Naruto took this time to gaze around the little shop. It wasn't anything fancy, but it had its charms. When Naruto looked down at the table, he was surprised to see Anko's initials carved into it. He couldn't help the slight chuckle that escaped his lips when he saw this. "You really do spend a lot of time here, don't you?" Naruto asked as his eyes landed on Anko. "Well, hell yeah, this place has the best dango in the entire village," she said excitedly just as their waitress walked up. The woman spotted Anko and smiled, then asked what they wanted. "We'll have the usual," Anko replied, causing the waitress to nod and walk off. Anko turned and saw Naruto looking at her with a confused look. "Just trust me, you'll love it," she said, causing him to smile. When the waitress came back with their order, Naruto watched as Anko quickly started to eat her dango with a smile on her face. Naruto took a few test bites and he was surprised at how good it was. Eventually he was eating almost as fast as Anko was. After they finished eating, Anko ordered them some tea. Then they spent the next hour talking and telling stories. Naruto was at first embarrassed by Anko's brash and flirtatious behavior, but he quickly got used to it. He even started teasing her back. But as the date went on, Naruto had one question he needed to Anko. After a round of hearty laughter, Naruto decided to finally ask her. "Anko, this has been great, I haven't laughed this hard in a long time," Naruto said, causing Anko to smile at him. "That's good to hear, Gaki, I'm really trying here," Anko said as her smile turned to a grin. She was about to continue, but then she noticed his expression change. "But one thing's has been kinda bothering me. I just want to know, what made you choose me?" Naruto asked, making Anko go wide-eyed for a moment. She was genuinely surprised by the question, but it was one she was expecting. With a sigh she stood up and offered him her hand. "Take my hand and follow me." Naruto took her hand and she started leading him through the village. Along the way Naruto noticed that several people shot them strange looks. Looks he hadn't seen since he was younger and still shunned by the village. Eventually Anko led him to the outskirts of the Forest of Death. Naruto shuddered slightly when unpleasant memories of the place flashed in his mind. Anko led him to an abandoned guard post. They both jumped onto the post's roof and sat down. The area was very secluded and offered them some privacy, a very rare thing in a shinobi village. With deep intake of breath Anko started speaking. "Naruto, you and me aren't so different," she said as she gazed into the sky. Naruto was surprised she hadn't called him Gaki, so he knew that this was serious. Deciding that silence was the best option, he kept his mouth shut. Du was shunned and looked down upon by this village too. All because of this, Anko said as she pulled down the collar of her trench coat, revealing her curse mark. Naruto knew that Anko had received a curse mark, but he didn't know that the villagers shunned her. "It wasn't nearly as bad they treated you. But people would call me a snake whore and give me these looks, the same looks they would give you," Anko said, pulling her collar back up and returning her gaze to the sky. "The shinobi were still kind to me, even though a couple gave me trouble. But I could barely go out in public without immediately being hassled by the villagers. That dango shop we were just at was one of the few shops that wouldn't kick me out. It was for me, like Ichiraku is for you. It was a place where I could go and not be judged, a place to go and be accepted." Naruto could hardly believe his ears. He was seething with anger at the village he swore to protect. It was horrible to hear that another person was treated like her was. "After a while, I developed a mask that I could wear out in public. Kinda like the one I know you put on sometimes. I would act flirty and extravagant to help get my mind off the villagers. Eventually I started sleeping with various men, even women, just to feel something other than pain and loneliness. Any pleasure, no matter how short-lived it was very welcome." Anko continued as a few tears escaped her eyes. Naruto just sat there and soaked it all in. His heart slowly breaking as he heard Anko speak. "Then one day I saw you. I saw the way the villagers treated you and suddenly I didn't feel as alone anymore. I saw you getting the same looks I would get for something out of your control. I saw the loud and confident mask you would put on in public, but as soon as you'd be alone that mask would shatter. I wanted to help you so you wouldn't have to bear the pain alone." Anko was now fully crying, she didn't try to fight the tears as she shook lightly. Then Anko stopped briefly and took another deep breath trying to stop her shaking. She then turned to Naruto and grasped his hand tightly. There was a time where I actually considered adopting you," Anko said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. "Kami, I was gonna do it. I was prepared to go to the Hokage and demand that he let me adopt you. But then I realized that if I did adopt you, it would only make our lives more difficult. If the villagers saw that the snake whore had adopted the demon child, they would have a fucking field day. And I decided to watch over you from the shadows. It killed me to see you suffer those looks and taunts. I wanted nothing more than to walk up to you and hug you, to let you know that I understood your pain. Now Naruto was crying too. Anko's words had hit him right in his heart. "You could have had a mother, someone to look after me. Someone to come home to every day. Kami, if my mother knew the way the villagers treated Anko and me, she would rise from the grave and beat every one of them." Naruto thought as he let tears flow from his eyes. Suddenly Naruto felt Anko wrap her arms around him as she cried into his shoulder. "Please forgive me, Naruto, I can't be alone again." She cried as she tightly gripped the back of his orange jacket. Anko stopped crying when she felt Naruto cup her chin. She looked and saw that his face was just as tear-stained as hers. "Anko-chan, you have nothing to apologize for, and I will never, and I mean never, leave you alone again," Naruto said with extreme passion as he crashed his lips against Anko's. Now Anko had been kissed many times before during her many sexual escapades. But the way Naruto kissed her blew her away. He kissed her with such raw passion and emotion that it took her breath away. Then Naruto surprised her by licking her bottom lip. She happily parted her lips and instantly their tongues met and danced. They continued their lip lock for a few more moments before the need for air made them separate. With a groan of annoyance she parted their lips, but she rested her forehead against his. "Anko-chan, I promise you that if you stay with me that I'll never abandon you and that you'll accept it with open arms. I love you, Anko-chan," Naruto said as he leaned in and gave Anko a gentle and loving kiss. As soon as the kiss ended, Anko wrapped her arms around Naruto again as tears of joy fell from her eyes. "I love you too, Naruto, thank you," she cried into his neck. They stayed like this for at least another hour, just holding each other and whispering sweet nothings to each other. Anko reluctantly got out of Naruto's arms and said that she had a few errands to run. Naruto gave her one last, lingering goodbye kiss before she left. As Naruto watched with a smile as Anko ran off, he was struck with a sudden realization. He had absolutely nothing to do now. Across the village, Sakura had just finished her shift at the hospital and Kami did she need to blow off some steam. Karen had been annoying and badgering her all day long. If she stayed in the redhead's presence any longer she was gonna snap her neck. As Sakura walked through the village, she spotted Hinata walking towards her. Instantly a smile spread across her face as she spotted her friend. "Hey Hinata," Sakura yelled as she waved to the Hyuga. Hinata's head snapped towards the voice that was calling out to her. A small smile formed on her face when she saw Sakura. "Hello, Sakura," Hinata said happily as Sakura caught up to her. "So I'm guessing your date with Naruto went well," Sakura said suddenly. Hinata's face instantly flushed bright red. "Why yes, it was amazing," Hinata had managed to stutter out. "Well, that's good to hear," Sakura said as a great way to blow off some steam came to mind. "Hey Hinata, you wanna spar? I kinda have to blow off some steam. Plus it has been a while since I've had some decent practice." Hinata blinked at sudden question. She had nowhere else to go and it too had been a while since she had been in a spar. "Sure thing, Sakura," Hinata said as Sakura started leading them towards the training fields. Eventually they found themselves on a random training field just outside the village. The two stood on opposite sides of the clearing and just stared at each other. Without a word they were both charging each other. Sakura went for powerful kicks and punches, utilizing her chakra-enhanced strength. While Hinata went for precise and fast jabs using her Byakugan to see all of Sakura's movements. However, Tsunade's evasion training had paid off and Sakura effortlessly dipped and dodged around Hinata's Gyuukin strikes. Hinata was dodging Sakura's attacks, but they were slowly but surely getting closer to striking her. As they continued to trade blows, Hinata made the mistake of trying to block one of Sakura's blows. She was sent flying across the field and with a grunt she did a quick flip and landed on her feet. Hinata was panting heavily as she clutched her throbbing arm. She looked to see that Sakura was slightly winded, but she still looked like she could go for a while. This surprised Hinata because she knew Sakura didn't exactly have the best stamina and would usually tire quickly. How is she moving so fast? It's as if she's speeding up. Also, how is she not tired yet? She looks she could still fight for a lot longer. Hinata thought as she activated her Byakugan. What she saw made her gasp. Sakura was feeling great. All her senses felt heightened. When she was fighting Hinata, it looked as if Hinata was moving in slow motion. Also, Sakura was surprised at how spry she still felt. Normally by now she'd be bent over in exhaustion. She was shaken from her thoughts when she saw Hinata activate her Byakugan and gasp. "Hinata, what's wrong?" Sakura asked, concerned she might have hurt Hinata. "Sakura, your arm," Hinata said as she saw the red glow Sakura's arm was giving off. The glow seemed to be spreading throughout Sakura's chakra system. Sakura blinked and lifted her sleeve to see that the rings on her arm were slightly glowing. "What are those?" Hinata asked as she appeared next to Sakura. "These are because of Naruto," Sakura said as Hinata poked the red and orange rings. "I got them after we had sex. Naruto bit into my neck," he said. Kurama told him to. Hinata again gasped, but this time for a different reason. "What?" She had sex with Naruto-kun. But I wanted to be his first. Well, if I can't be his first, I will definitely be his second. Hinata thought as she shot Sakura a jealous look. Hinata decided to get back to the topic on hand. Well, it seems that those rings have given you some of the Kyuubi's chakra. Hinata said as she again activated her Byakugan. She saw that the red chakra in Sakura's system was slowly starting to retreat back into the rings. Sakura went wide-eyed when she heard this. So that's why she wasn't tired and everything seemed to be moving in slow motion. It was because she had some of Kurama's chakra in her. Sakura had to let Tsunade know right away. Hinata, we have to let Tsunade-sama know about this. Sakura said as she took it back towards the village with Hinata in tow. Naruto trudged aimlessly through the village streets with nowhere to go. He was officially bored out his mind. But luck shined upon Naruto because he spotted Tenten walking out of a weapon shop just in front of him. Might as well ask her. Naruto thought as he ran to catch up to the weapon mistress. Hey Tenten. Naruto called out as he ran towards her. Tenten quickly spun around and grinned when she saw Naruto. Hey you knucklehead. She said, genuinely happy to see Naruto. How have you been, Tenten? Ah, I've been alright. I've been training with Lee and Neji a lot lately. Also I've been visiting Guy-sensei at the hospital. Tenten said with a sad smile. How is he doing? Naruto said sadly as he thought of Guy. Oh, he's doing well, still spouting nonsense about his flames of youth never being extinguished, Tenten said with a sigh, but she was smiling. I can tell he's disappointed that he can't be a shinobi anymore, but he's making the best of it. Plus Lee is with him all the time trying to cheer him up. Well, that's bushy brows for you. Naruto said with a smile. Yeah it is, Tenten said as she looked into Naruto's piercing blue eyes, her brown eyes met his blue ones. She blushed slightly and looked away. Never thanked you for bringing Neji back and for saving Guy-sensei. You don't have to thank me, Tenten-chan. Naruto said with his usual grin. Tenten blushed even more when she heard him add the chan to her name. Yes I do, Naruto. If I had lost Neji and Guy-sensei, I don't know what I would have done. Tenten said as she fought back tears. She wouldn't cry especially in front of a Naruto. She was a tough woman and she wouldn't look weak in front of him. Naruto saw this and he scowled a little. Tenten, just because you want to cry doesn't make you weak. Even the strongest woman needs to let out her emotions sometimes. Naruto said as he placed a hand on Tenten's shoulder. Tenten listened to Naruto's words and they made sense to her. She let a few stray tears streak down her face, but she quickly wiped them away. Naruto may be right, but she didn't like to cry in front of others. Thanks Naruto, I needed that. Tenten said as she looked up at him and smiled. No problem Tenten, that's what friends are for. Naruto said with a smile. Yeah, friends. Tenten said sadly. Seeing this, Naruto decided to go for it. Hey Tenten, would you like to go out sometime? What, like a date? Tenten asked, surprised by his sudden request. Yeah, I'm free tomorrow. Maybe we could spar then hang out afterwards. Tenten thought for a moment. True, a part of her still liked Neji, but she knew that relationship likely wasn't going anywhere. Plus she had always had this silent admiration for Naruto, it had started after he defeated Neji in the Chunin exams. He was one of the few guys who truly caught her attention. She decided to throw caution to the wind and just go with it. Sure thing Naruto, pick me up around 6 p.m. tomorrow. Tenten said with a big smile. Alright, it's a date. I'll see you tomorrow Tenten-chan. Naruto said as he took off down the street. Tenten watched Naruto run off and a dreamy sigh escaped her lips. She knew tomorrow was gonna be amazing. Naruto now sat in Ichiraku for dinner waiting for his order to be prepared. He was a little disappointed that AM wasn't there, but Tucci told him that she hadn't been feeling well lately. Naruto just sighed, he missed talking with his Nichin. He had briefly considered a relationship with her, but she was his sister in all but blood. It would have been weird dating her. As Naruto sat there, he thought of the exhausting day he had. The entire day had been a fucking emotional roller coaster. He had no idea what he was gonna do after he ate. He hadn't seen Sakura or Hinata all day, and Konan and Ryuzetsu were both out on short missions. Naruto sighed as Tucci placed his bowl in front of him. Tucci wanted to talk to the boy, but he looked like he needed to be alone right now. Naruto was just about to start eating when he heard the flaps to the stand be pushed aside. He was gonna ignore whoever entered, but he was surprised to hear the person speak to him. There you are, I've been looking everywhere for you. Naruto spun around on his stool and was surprised to see Ino Yamanaka standing there. He was even more surprised to hear that she was looking for him. You were looking for me? Naruto asked as he pointed to himself. Well yeah, when I couldn't find you at your apartment or the training grounds. I knew you'd be here. Ino said as she took a seat next to him. Why were you looking for me? Naruto asked, honestly confused. Ino and him weren't exactly the closet of friends. But she was one of his precious people and he cared deeply for her. It also helped that she was honestly one of the hottest kunoichi in the village. "Do have something I want to ask you?" she asked as a blush spread across her face. Naruto was confused. Ino was usually very loud and direct. But to see her stuttering and blushing was very surprising. "Sure Ino, you can ask me anything," Naruto said as he looked into her pale blue eyes. Ino took a deep breath to calm her nerves. "Naruto, how would you like to go out on a date with me?" Ino asked as she blushed furiously. That was the last thing Naruto was expecting to hear. What?" Naruto asked, still a little shocked. "I asked you if you wanted to go on a date," Ino said a little more confidently this time. Naruto just stared at her for a moment. He honestly couldn't think of any reasons to not at least give her a chance. "Sure thing Ino-chan, but I'm busy tomorrow. So how about the day after that?" Naruto said with a smile. Ino's face lit up when he agreed. "Thank you Naruto, that sounds great." Ino nearly yelled as she pulled him in for a hug. Naruto hugged her back and inhaled her scent. She smelled of freshly picked flowers. Realizing that they were hugging slightly too long, Ino released Naruto as a fierce blush spread across her face. "I'll see you soon Naruto." Ino stuttered out just before she bolted out of the stand towards her home. Naruto watched her leave with a smile on his face. He then turned back to his food and realized it was now cold. He quickly yelled for Tucci to bring him a fresh bowl. Naruto just sighed as he waited for his ramen to be prepared. Now I understand why Bachan drinks," Naruto muttered as he put his face in his hands. His life was gonna get real complicated really soon. Tsunade was sitting at her desk finishing the last of her paperwork for the day. She had sent Shizune home early and was alone in her office. "I've been working non-stop for the past week. Thank Kami I can finally retire soon," Tsunade thought as she eyed the drawer where she kept your sake. "No. I need to focus, once I retire I can get drunk." As Tsunade got back to her paperwork, she heard a few knocks at the door. "Enter." Tsunade yelled thinking it was Shizune coming back to check on her. Shushu, can we speak with you?" Tsunade looked up and was surprised to see Sakura and Hinata standing in front of her desk. "Oh Sakura, it's you. Sure, what do you want to talk about?" Tsunade said as she smiled at her apprentice. Sakura looked at Hinata and they nodded to each other. Sakura slowly lifted up her sleeve to show the 3 rings on her upper arm. "So you got a tattoo, I didn't think you were the type Sakura," Tsunade said with a smirk. "It's not a tattoo Tsunade-sama," Hinata said, surprising the blonde Hokage. "What do you mean it's not a tattoo? Then what is it?" Tsunade said as she stood up and walked over to Sakura. "I think it's best for you explain the Sakura," Hinata said as a slight blush crossed her face. "Shushu, this is this isamate mark," Sakura said as her cheeks turned bright red. "The what?" Tsunade said in a slightly upset tone. "It's a mate mark, I got it after Naruto and Mayuno did it," Sakura said the last part in a quiet tone. "That little bastard, he just couldn't keep it in his pants could he?" Tsunade sighed as sunk back into her seat. "It wasn't Naruto's fault," Sakura said, surprising both Hinata and Tsunade. "What, how is it not his fault?" Tsunade said as she leaned forward. "Du seduced him," Sakura said, trying to avoid her master's gaze. Well, that truly is a surprise," Tsunade said with another smirk on her face. Tsunade then looked at Hinata. The poor girl looked as if she was gonna pass out any second. "Well, I really doubt you came here just to tell me that you slept with Naruto," Tsunade said as she leaned back in her chair. Hearing this snapped Hinata out of her stupor. Hi Tsunade-sama. We were sparring earlier and I noticed something strange when I activated my Byakugan. It appears that Sakura can access some of the Kyuubi's chakra through the mark on her arm," Hinata said, making Tsunade's eyes widen. Instantly Tsunade was on her feet, inspecting Sakura. Her hands glowed green as she scanned through Sakura's vitals. She hovered her hands over Sakura's body, but when she came to the mark on her arm, a chill ran down her spine. "Yeah, there is definitely some of the Kyuubi's chakra in you, but except for that you seem would hold on a second," Tsunade said as she hovered her hand over Sakura's stomach. "What is it Shushu?" Sakura asked, confused at her master's sudden exclamation. Sakura, have you been feeling well lately?" Tsunade questioned, looking Sakura in the eyes. I have been feeling a little sick the last few days, but what does that you don't mean?" Sakura said as her eyes widened in shock. "Yes Sakura, you're pregnant, congratulations," Tsunade said with a smile on her face. Hinata's eyes shot open when she heard this. She turned to Sakura and watched as a flurry of emotions flashed through her features. Sakura started to hyperventilate as she placed her hand on a nearby chair to steady herself. "Holy shit, how am I gonna tell Naruto? Are we ready to be parents? Fuck, I'm freaking out." "Okay Sakura, calm down," Sakura thought as she tried to calm her breathing. "Hey, you should be happy, you're gonna have Naruto-kun's baby. Plus he'll be ecstatic to hear you're pregnant," inner Sakura said, trying to comfort her outer self. Sakura was shaken from her thoughts when she felt a hand on her shoulder. She looked to see her master smiling at her. "Sakura, you should be happy, you're gonna be a mother," Tsunade said as his smile widened. "Something I will never be able to experience." Tsunade said the last part under her breath so no one could hear what she said. Suddenly what Tsunade said finally had sunken in. I'm gonna be a mom," Sakura said in as a hushed tone as a smile spread across her face. "I'm gonna be a mom." Sakura yelled as she hugged Tsunade and Hinata. "Congratulations, Sakura." Hinata said, truly happy for her friend, but there still was a small twinge of jealousy. "So how are you gonna tell the Gaki?" Tsunade said as she pulled out a sake bottle. I don't know, I'll tell him in a few days once I figure this all out." Sakura said as she finally sat in the chair she was leaning on. "Well, you can tell him after I officially announce Kakashi as the Rakudame Hokage." Tsunade said as she filled 3 cups of sake. "That actually is a good idea, alright, I'll tell him after the ceremony," Sakura said with a smile. "Now how about a drink to celebrate?" Tsunade said as she handed Sakura and Hinata a cup. "Shushu, I really shouldn't," Sakura said as she tried push the cup away. "Sakura, we both know that one drink won't hurt the baby, so it's fine," Tsunade said as she handed the cup to Sakura. "Yeah, you're right, well cheers," Sakura said as she raised her cup. "Cheers," Hinata and Tsunade said as they too raised their cups. They all clinked their cups and downed their drinks. The next day. Naruto walked towards where he was supposed to meet Tenten. He found the training ground and he saw that Tenten was already there practicing with her various weapons. Naruto opted to just sit back and watch her for a moment. The weapons mistress of Konoha didn't disappoint. Naruto was amazed at the gracefulness Tenten possessed with each weapon and how she effortlessly switched from weapon to weapon without missing a beat. Then he watched as she threw kunai and shuriken with accuracy that stunned him. Naruto was mesmerized by her flexible movements, elegant movements. But Naruto was shaken out of his trance when a kunai whizzed by his face and dug itself into the tree behind him. "Are you gonna just stand there and watch or are gonna come over here and fight me?" Tenten yelled with a wicked grin on her face. Naruto turned to look at the kunai that had missed his face by mere inches. "You could have killed me," Naruto said as he approached Tenten. "Well, you're lucky that my aim was off," Tenten said as her grin widened. "Oh, I'm gonna get you for that," Naruto said as he pulled out a kunai and took a fighting stance. "Come and get me, Foxy, and don't you dare go easy on me," Tenten said as she jumped back and unwrapped a scroll. Instantly a barrage of kunai came sailing at Naruto. He quickly jumped over the kunai and started charging Tenten. She was expecting this and she pulled out her own kunai. Their blades clashed causing sparks to fly. They started to fight for dominance, but Naruto's superior strength was starting to overpower Tenten. But just before Naruto overpowered her, Tenten smirked and raised her other hand. Naruto turned and spotted a piece of ninja wire wrapped around her index finger. With a flick of her finger, Naruto was completely wrapped in ninja wire. "Submit," Tenten said as she placed her kunai to Naruto's neck. Naruto just smirked before he puffed into smoke. "Shidakage Bushin," Tenten said as she spun around trying to locate Naruto. Suddenly Naruto jumped out of some nearby bushes with a Kaiten Rasengan in his hands. "Shit," Tenten yelled as she jumped out of the way. Naruto flew past where Tenten was and slammed the Rasengan into a tree. The tree exploded into a ball of flames and was completely incinerated. "Holy fuck, Naruto," Tenten said as she watched the tree disintegrate and turn into a pile of ashes. "Hey, you said not to hold back," Naruto said with a grin as he activated his Bidjuumate. "That I did," Tenten replied with a smirk. "Why don't you show me what the hero of the shinobi world can do?" Instantly Naruto was in front of Tenten. She barely had time to react before he was throwing a punch at her. She managed to raise her arm and block the punch, but it still hurt like hell. Tenten then tried to kick out Naruto's legs, but he jumped over her kick and landed behind her. She spun around just in time to receive a kick right in the stomach. The wind was knocked out of her as she went flying through the air. Naruto was next to her in an instant. "Shit. Tenten, I'm sorry, are you alright?" Naruto said frantically as he kneeled next to her. "I am now," Tenten said with a smirk on her face. Naruto tired to say, but when he heard click behind him, he turned to see a dozen kunai flying towards him. He looked down and saw that he had kneeled right on a tripwire. Naruto rolled out of the kunai's path. When he looked back up, Tenten was charging him again. "You're too easy to fool, Naruto," she said as she swung her kunai at him. But she was surprised when Naruto grabbed her arm and spun her around, slamming her back into a tree. Then she felt the cold steel of the kunai against her neck. "Submit," Naruto said as a clone came up and disarmed Tenten. "Never," Tenten said defiantly. "I bet I can make you submit," Naruto said with a smirk. "How do you?" Tenten started to speak, but she was stopped when Naruto pressed his lips against hers. It was a gentle kiss that showed the respect and admiration they both held for each other. Naruto dropped the kunai in his hand and wrapped his arms around Tenten's waist. Her arms wrapped around Naruto's neck as her fingers tangled in his hair. Suddenly Naruto was surprised to feel Tenten's tongue asking to enter his mouth. He smirked, that was supposed to be his job, but Tenten never liked when men had all the control. He happily opened his lips and their tongues met. Tenten tried not to moan when her tongue met Naruto's. Naruto was being so gentle and loving with her and she loved every second of it. But the need for air caused them to separate, much to Tenten's disappointment. They both separated and just stared into each other's eyes. Her brown eyes met his blue ones, conveying all the emotions they held for each other. But she suddenly felt Naruto grasp her hands and hold them tightly. Tenten-chan, before we continue this relationship I have to tell you something. Naruto said, causing Tenten to tilt her head in confusion. Okay Naruto, what do you need to tell me? Tenten asked, slightly worried he might say that they couldn't be together. Taking a deep breath Naruto began to speak. If we get together you'll have to share me with a few other girls. Naruto said, causing Tenten to go wide-eyed. What do you mean? Since I'm the last Namikaze and the last male Uzumaki, Tsunade Bachin instituted the Clan Restoration Act for me. This means that I'm allowed to take on multiple wives to help restore my family. Naruto said as he watched Tenten to gauge her reaction. Tenten looked down and started to think this over. She knew now that she truly wanted Naruto and not Neji. Also she noticed that she didn't particularly mind having to share Naruto. Have you picked any other girls? Tenten asked suddenly. Yeah, I have. There's Sakura, Hinata, Konan, Ryuzetsu, Anko, possibly Ino, and hopefully you. When Naruto said her name he gave her a hopeful smile. Well, at least they're all girls I know, Tenten said as she looked away again. Screw it, I'm in. Really, Naruto said as a large smile started to form on his face. Yes, now kiss me again Foxy. Tenten said as she pulled Naruto in for another kiss. After kissing for a few more minutes, they both sat against a tree. Tenten was sitting between Naruto's legs with her head resting against his chest. They sat like this for hours talking about their interests, hobbies, and dreams. As night started to fall Naruto walked Tenten home. As they stopped in front of Tenten's home, Naruto gave her a lingering kiss goodnight. I love you Tenten-chan. Naruto said as they separated. I love you too Naruto, Tenten said with a smile. I'll see you soon. With that Tenten walked up the stairs and entered her apartment. Naruto watched her leave with a smile before he started walking back towards his own home. When Naruto was walking up the steps toward his apartment he saw Neji leaning against the railing outside his door. Hey Neji, Naruto said cheerfully as he approached the Hyuga. Hello Naruto, Neji said with a small smile on his face. So why are you leaning against the railing here? Naruto asked as he approached Neji. I was waiting for you, hearing this made Naruto raise an eyebrow. I wanted to thank you for giving Tenten a chance. Of course I would give her a chance. Tenten's a great girl and I love her. Naruto said with a genuine smile on his face. That's great to hear Naruto, now please take care of Tenten, Neji said as he placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder. And if I find out you hurt her you'll have to deal with me. Because Tenten is like a sister to me and I greatly care for her. I would never dream of hurting my precious people. I promise I will do everything in my power to make Tenten and the rest of the girls happy. Naruto said with determination in his voice. Good, I'll keep you to that promise. Neji said as he walked past Naruto and down the steps back towards the Hyuga estates. As soon as Neji was out of sight Naruto let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Note to self, try not to piss Neji off. Naruto thought as he opened his door and walked into his apartment. The next day 5 p.m. Naruto was standing outside the Yamanaka flower shop, nervously shuffling from foot to foot as he waited for Ino. He was once again dressed up, he wore a black button-up shirt with an orange tie, black dress pants, and dress shoes. Hami, I hope I don't fuck this up. I've always had a soft spot for Ino, even thought she was always mean to me. She just reminds me so much of Sakura-chan, Naruto thought as the door to the shop opened and what he saw made his breath hitch. To say Ino was stunning would be a grave understatement. She wore a beautiful purple sequin dress that seemed to shine in setting sun. The dress stopped just above her knees and showed off her strong toned legs. The dress also hugged her body allowing Naruto to ogle her voluptuous curves. Her hair was still in its normal ponytail, with half her face covered by her platinum blonde locks. Hami Ino-chan, you look beautiful, Naruto said breathlessly. Thank you Naruto. She said as she tried to control her maddening blush. Now it was Ino's turn to look Naruto over and she had to admit she liked what she was seeing. But she couldn't help but giggle when she saw his orange tie. I guess you do have to wear orange with every outfit, Ino said as tried to stifle her giggling. But except for that you clean up pretty well. Hey, orange is an awesome color and thank you. Naruto said as he offered Ino his arm. Oh, what a gentleman. Ino said with a smile as she grabbed onto Naruto's arm. After a short walk Ino and Naruto stood outside the restaurant she had picked out. When they stepped inside the sounds of soft music filled the air as they were quickly led to their table. After they placed their orders, Naruto and Ino really got to know each other. They found out that they actually shared a lot of things in common. Ino was surprised to learn that Naruto enjoyed gardening, and she was shocked at how much he knew about various flowers and plants. "Why did you never tell me that you knew so much about gardening, Naruto?" "Well, it's not a hobby that a lot of guys have, I was kinda embarrassed by it. Plus I never thought you would really care." Naruto said the last part in a saddened tone. Hearing this made Ino feel like trash. She never had realized what a great guy Naruto was and she had always mistreated him. But she was determined to make it up to him. "Naruto, I'm so sorry for the way I treated you. I never realized what an amazing guy you were," Ino said as she placed her hand on top of Naruto's. "You don't need to apologize, Ino-chan, you were focused on the team." Naruto was gonna say more, but he was cut off by Ino. "Please Naruto, don't mention that asshole. And I do need to apologize because you've done so much for me. You even brought my dead father back to life. Even though I was a total bitch to you and it makes me feel like shit," Ino said as tears started to form in her eyes. Seeing that Ino was about to cry, Naruto leaned across the table and wiped away her forming tears. "Please don't feel bad, Ino-chan, I hate to see my precious people upset," Naruto said as he squeezed her hand. "I'm one of your precious people. Of course you are, Ino-chan, I care for you greatly and I want you to be happy," Naruto said as he turned to look at dance floor that was in the restaurant. Naruto stood up and offered Ino his hand. "May I have this dance, Ms. Yamanaka?" Naruto said with a smile on his face. "You dance?" Ino said skeptically as she took his hand. Naruto led her to the dance floor and wrapped his hands around her waist while Ino wrapped her arms around his neck. "Well, Shizune Nichan and Hinata-chan taught me a few steps and I've been practicing with Kage Bushin," Naruto said as he tried to remember the steps he had been practicing. Ino and let him lead her through the steps of their dance. They fumbled a few times, but they quickly laughed it off and returned to each other's embrace. Eventually they gave up on dancing and just swayed back and forth to the soft music with Ino resting her head against Naruto's chest. "I could stay like this forever," Ino said as she tried to get closer to Naruto, enjoying his warm and comforting embrace. "Yeah, this is nice," Naruto said as he leaned down and kissed the top of Ino's head, causing her blush against his chest. After their dance, Naruto paid for their meal and Ino escorted back to her home. When they reached the entrance to the flower shop, Ino heard a small poof. She turned her head and saw that Naruto was holding a beautiful purple rose in his hand. "A beautiful flower for a beautiful girl," Naruto said as he handed the flower to an amazed Ino. "Where did you get this? It's gorgeous," Ino said as she clutched the rose to her chest. "I planted it myself, it took a lot of failed attempts, but I finally got the perfect one," Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his head. "Oh Naruto, this has been the best night of my life, thank you. I'm glad to hear that, Ino-chan, I had an amazing time too." Suddenly they found themselves staring into each other's eyes. His piercing blue eyes gazed into her soft blue ones. They started leaning towards each other, their lips inches apart. Naruto captured Ino's lips with his own. Ino had kissed a few other boys before, but Naruto far surpassed them all. He was possessive, but at the same time gentle. She moaned when Naruto's tongue shot into her mouth. They stayed like this for a few moments, kissing in front of her home. When they finally separated, Ino had a dreamy look in her eyes. She clutched the purple rose to her racing heart. "Naruto, I think I love you," Ino said as she gripped his hands and looked into his eyes again. "I love you too, Ino-chan," Naruto said as he leaned in and captured her lips in a gentle kiss. When they separated, they said their goodbyes. Naruto turned and walked home with a smile plastered on his face. The next day, Hokage Tower. Tsunade stood on top of the Hokage Tower. She looked down and saw most of Konoha gathered around the tower to hear her announcement. "People of Konoha, I have gathered all of you here today to make an important announcement." Tsunade's voice boomed, quieting the crowd. "I've thought about this for a while now, and after fighting in the Fourth Great Shinobi War, I've decided to step down as Hokage." The crowd fell silent as they processed the information they had just heard. "I've already decided on my successor. So I present you the Rakudame Hokage Kakashi Haddock," Tsunade said as Kakashi appeared next to her. The crowd had mixed reactions. There was cheering and applause, some were still too shocked to speak, but one person asked a question that was on everyone's mind. "What about Naruto Uzumaki?" The man yelled, causing much of the crowd to ask the same question. Tsunade let out a sigh as she looked and saw Naruto watching from a nearby rooftop. She was reassured when he smiled at her and gave her a thumbs up. "I've already discussed the situation with Naruto and he understands. He may be the strongest shinobi in the village, possibly the whole world, but he just doesn't have the political skills to be Hokage yet. But Kakashi and I will help train Naruto so that when he's ready he can take up the mantle of Hokage," Tsunade said, causing the crowd to burst out into cheers. Naruto smiled as he watched the crowd cheer for his sensei. With one last glance he turned around and returned to his apartment, but just before he could sit down he heard a few knocks at his door. With a sigh he got up and opened the door. He was surprised to see Sakura there. "Sakura-chan, it's so good to see you, it's been a few days." Naruto said, extremely happy to see his girlfriend and first love. He then stepped aside and gestured for Sakura to come in. Sakura didn't say a word and immediately sat on Naruto's couch. Naruto was worried because Sakura looked upset. "Sakura-chan, what's wrong?" Naruto asked as he rushed over to the couch and immediately sat next to her. Sakura looked at Naruto and sighed, her emerald eyes a flurry of emotions. "Naruto, I have something very important to tell you." "Sure Sakura-chan, you can tell me anything. You have to promise me you won't freak out." "I promise I won't freak out," Naruto said with a smile. Sakura took a deep breath and spoke again. "Naruto, I'm pregnant." What?" Naruto nearly yelled, his mind racing. "You're gonna be a father, Naruto," Sakura said with a smile as she held Naruto's hand. I'm gonna be a dad," Naruto managed to say before he passed out. Naruto groaned lightly as he started to awaken. He was faintly aware that his head was resting on someone's lap. He could also feel the warm tingling of healing chakra on his head. When Naruto finally opened his eyes he spotted Sakura hovering over him. She had an annoyed look on her face as her glowing green hands hovered over his head. With another groan Naruto sat up, which surprised Sakura. "Ugh, what the hell happened?" Naruto asked as he rubbed his still aching head. "Well, after I told you I was pregnant, you passed out and hit your head on the table, you baka. I had to make sure you didn't get a concussion and suffer any brain damage, well, any more brain damage." Sakura yelled, but she let out a sigh and calmed down. "What happened, Naruto? You said you wouldn't freak out. Are you not ready to have kids?" Naruto could see that Sakura was starting to panic, so he leaned over and gently kissed her, effectively silencing her. When they separated, Naruto grabbed Sakura's hands and looked her right in the eyes. "Sakura-chan, you don't know how happy I am to know that we are gonna be parents. You just caught me off guard with the news and I was just shocked. There's nothing I want more in this world than to start a family with you and the other girls. I'd give up on being Hokage to have a family with you all," Naruto said in the most sincere voice Sakura had ever heard, and it brought her to tears. She immediately wrapped her arms around him, pulled him close as she cried into his shoulder. "And Kami, I thought you weren't happy," Sakura said into his shoulder. "Sakura-chan, being a dad has always been one of my greatest dreams. Since I grew up without my parents, I've always wanted to have kids so I could treat them the way I always wanted to be treated as a kid," Naruto said as Sakura released him from the hug and looked back into his eyes. "But what if we aren't ready? What if we're bad parents?" Sakura said as she broke his gaze and looked to the floor. "Sakura-chan, don't you ever think that? We'll be the best parents ever and we're more than ready, believe it," Naruto said with his foxy grin. Those few words immediately lifted Sakura's spirits and a small smile spread across her face. "Do you really believe that we're ready?" "Sakura-chan, I know we're ready. You're one of the strongest people I know, you've done things that I couldn't dream of doing, so I think we can handle kids." Sakura's smile widened when he said this. "Damn it, he's right, we are ready for kids. I know we can do this. Oh, our baby is gonna be so kawaii." Inner Sakura squealed like a little schoolgirl. "I have one question though," Naruto said, shaking Sakura out of her thoughts. Sure, Naruto, ask away." "You're the medical expert, so how did this happen so fast?" Naruto asked, which made Sakura look at him as if he was the dumbest person on earth. Well, he was sometimes. "You do know that if you have unprotected sex, that it significantly increases the chance of pregnancy, right?" Let me talk to the girl, I can explain what happened," Kurama said, surprising Naruto. "Oh hey Kurama, haven't heard from you in a while. Why would you want to talk to Sakura-chan, she already explained it to me." "Because kid, that's not the reason she got pregnant, so just let me take over for a minute so I can explain this too to her." Naruto looked at Kurama skeptically for a second before he shrugged his shoulders and let Kurama take over. Sakura was about to say something because Naruto started to space out on her. But she knew he was talking to Kurama, so she patiently waited for him to finish. After a few moments Naruto opened his eyes, but Sakura was surprised to see red slided eyes instead of Naruto's normal blue ones. "Hello child." The Kurama-possessed Naruto said in a deep voice with a small smile. "Why, you're Kurama, what have you done with Naruto?" Sakura said as she started to back away slowly. "Calm down Gaki, Naruto, let me take over for a bit so I could explain some things to you." "Oh okay, so what did you want, tell me?" Sakura said as she started to relax slightly. "I want to explain to you exactly why you got pregnant. It has to do with the mate mark on your arm." Sakura lifted her sleeve and looked at the rings on her arm. "When the Gaki bit you and gave you that mark, it infused his sperm with some of my chakra. This increased its potency tenfold, which almost guarantees pregnancy." So you're telling me that if Naruto bites any of the other girls, they will be pregnant too? Precisely, you're pretty smart for human. I can see why Naruto chased after you for so long. That's why I had Naruto bite you first. He loves all of you girls equally, but you were his first love. So you have a special place in his heart, and my thanks. What are you thanking me for? You were one of the first people to truly acknowledge Naruto, even though it might not have been in the best way. You don't realize how important you yelling at Naruto actually was when you were younger. When you yelled at him, it made him feel like he belonged. You treated him like a normal person, not some demon child that needed to be ignored. Hearing this made Sakura go wide-eyed. She didn't realize it was so bad for Naruto that someone yelling at him made him feel accepted. That Hyuga girl may have loved the Gaki longer than you, but when Naruto truly needed someone, she wasn't there for him. She always watched and supported for him from afar. Although she has changed that lately, so she has earned my respect. Hearing about Hinata made Sakura upset with herself. Kami, if only she had realized Naruto needed her back then, things could have turned out so different. Kurama saw the self-hatred in her eyes and decided to speak up. Don't beat yourself up, child. You didn't realize how much Naruto needed love back then, but you're here for him now, and that's what matters. You don't realize how much you truly mean to Naruto. You were his pillar of strength that kept him going no matter what. Sakura formed a small smile as a blush spread across her face. That's why I made you matriarch of Naruto's new family. What did you say? Sakura asked, her interest piqued. The smile spread across the possessed Naruto's face. That mark you have on your arm is a special one. It has 3 bands for a reason. That specific mate mark makes you the matriarch or leader of the rest of Naruto's girls. It's more of a symbolic thing, you won't have any real control of the other girls. The other girls will only have 1 or 2 rings. The other girls closest to Naruto's will have 2 rings, like the Hyuga girl for example. However, other girls the Gaki is with will only have 1 ring. Kurama, I can't thank you enough for giving me this special gift. Sakura said as she hugged Kurama. This surprised the Kyuubi. He had never had anything like this happen before, so he just sat there wide-eyed. When Sakura released Kurama, he was blushing lightly. Letting out an embarrassed cough, Kurama continued. Just treat Naruto right, child, because if he puts his trust and love in you, I'll do the same. But that Naruto closed his eyes, and when they opened again they returned to their normal deep blue. So what did Kurama want to tell you? But suddenly Naruto felt Sakura pull him into a tight hug. Sakura-chan. Just be quiet, Naruto. Sakura said as she held him closer. The smile was on both their faces as they held each other. After a few minutes of just holding each other, Sakura spoke up. So should we tell the other girls the news? Sakura asked, getting excited at the idea of telling her friends. We will, but we need to tell someone else first. Who? Sakura asked, but when Naruto answered her face went completely white. Your parents. Naruto had fearlessly faced off against Madara Uchiha and Kageyl Tsutsuki. He had gone toe-to-toe with the Juubi and not batted an eye. But now as he stood outside the door to Sakura's home, waiting for her parents to come to the door, he was literally shaking in fear. If there was one thing that actually scared Naruto, it was the wrath of a pissed-off woman. So when the door finally opened and Mibukyo Haruno stood before him and Sakura, smiling warmly, Naruto almost pissed his pants in fear, thinking of what was to come. Oh Sakura, Naruto. It's so good to see you, come in. Sakura had to literally push Naruto into the house because he was frozen in place. She guided him into the living room and sat him on a couch while she sat next to him. So Sakura, this is a surprise, what are you and Naruto doing here? Mibukyo asked as she sat in a chair across from them. Mom, is Dad here? Yeah, he is, dear, why? Can you call him down please? Sure thing, dear. Kizashi-kun, come on down here. Seconds later Sakura's father came down the stairs and he made his way into the living room. What do you want, Mibukyo-chano? Sakura, Naruto, how are you? Kizashi said happily as he took a seat next to his wife. We're fine, Dad. Naruto and I just came over because we have something important to tell you guys. Sakura glanced over at Naruto and what she saw made her sweat drop. Naruto was gripping his pants in nervousness and she could see the sweat pouring down his face. Okay, Haim, what did you want to tell us? Kizashi said with a big smile. Sakura took a deep breath as Naruto prepared for the worst. Mom, Dad, I'm pregnant. Naruto cringed in fear as utter silence filled the room. After about 10 seconds Naruto risked opening his eyes, he saw Mibukyo and Kizashi sitting in the same spot processing the new information. Sakura tried to speak, but Mibukyo let out a deafening squeal before she pulled Sakura into a crushing hug. I'm gonna be a grandma. Mibukyo yelled as she hugged Sakura tighter. Naruto just sat there and watched everything unfold. So he wasn't gonna be yelled at or hit. But he nearly jumped out his skin when he felt a hand land on his shoulder. He looked at Kizashi staring at him. Shit, maybe he spoke too soon. But he was surprised when a massive grin spread across Kazashi's face. "Good job, kid," Kazashi said as he patted Naruto on the shoulder. "Wait, you two aren't mad at me?" Naruto asked as he looked at Mibuki and Kazashi. Mibuki let go of Sakura and looked at Naruto. "Are you kidding me? We couldn't be happier. You two may be a little young, but you're definitely ready," Mibuki said with a big smile as she hugged Naruto. When Mibuki released Naruto, she had a sad smile on her face. "Only if your mother were alive to see this. Me and her always used to talk about matching you two together and we couldn't wait to be grandmas." Naruto went wide-eyed when he heard this. "You knew my mother?" Naruto asked as a tears started to form in his eyes. "Yes, she was one of my best friends. We spent a lot of time together," Mibuki said as she quickly tried to wipe away her own tears. You'll have to tell me about her sometime," Naruto said with a small smile. "Of course dear, anytime." Mibuki released Naruto and clapped her hands together. "I say we celebrate, I'm cooking," Mibuki said happily as she sped off towards the kitchen. Kazashi just followed after his wife, with a goofy smile on his face, to help her prepare dinner. As Naruto watched Sakura's parents from the living room, he couldn't help but feel like this was some place that her belonged. "I hope the other girl's parents are this easygoing," Naruto thought as he wiped some sweat from his brow. As Mibuki started on the food, she looked up and smiled. "Were you watching Kushina? I guess you were right after all. Our kids did end up together, even though Sakura isn't the only one with Naruto. Those two share a special bond that will never be broken," Mibuki thought with a big smile on her face. Little did she know that Kushina was indeed watching and she couldn't be happier. "Minato-kun, did you hear that we're grandparents Tebane?" Kushina yelled as she hugged her husband and jumped up and down. "I know dear, I know," Minato replied with smile on his face. "Good job son," Minato thought as he watched Naruto sit down to eat with the Harunos. His smile grew as saw Naruto laughing and joking with the family, as if they were his own. The next day. Naruto had asked all his girls to meet him at Ichiraku to tell them the big news. He had also invited Karen, Kakashi, Yamato, and Sai, seeing as they were his family and teammates. Everyone occupied a stool with Naruto and Sakura occupying the center too. Hinata knew what was going to be announced, but she wanted it to be a surprise, so she kept quiet. Also Karen looked as if she was dot. Seeing that everyone was there, Naruto stood and cleared his throat. "Girls, Kakashi, Yamato, Sai, you're all probably wondering why I called you here," Naruto asked, earning nods from everyone. "Well, Sakura-chan and I have some big news to tell you guys." "What is it, Naruto-kun?" Anko asked, turning to face them. "Sakura-chan, do you want to tell them, or should I?" "I told my parents, you get to tell them," Sakura said, shaking her head. Naruto took a deep breath and let a big smile cross his face. "Everybody, Sakura-chan is pregnant," Naruto said, making everybody go wide-eyed. There was tense silence for a few seconds before all the girls, except for Konan and Karen, yelled and surrounded Sakura in a group hug. Konan just smiled warmly and congratulated Naruto. Well, Karen walked up and hugged Naruto instead of Sakura. "I had a feeling that's what you were gonna say," Karen said with a smirk. "How could you know?" Naruto asked as he smiled at his pseudo-sister. "I could sense a new chakra coming from Sakura and it wasn't the Kyuubi's." Naruto just smiled and turned to his senseis and Sai. All of them had a smile on their face, well Naruto assumed Kakashi had a smile on his face. "I'm proud of you, Naruto," Kakashi said as he patted his student on the shoulder. "I knew it was gonna happen eventually," Yamato said with a smile. "I'm truly happy for you, Naruto," Sai said with one of his genuine smiles. "Hey, the next round of ramen is on the Hokage," Kakashi said with an eye smile. "No way, this one is on the house, it's a celebration for Naruto-kun and Sakura," AM said with a smile as her and Tucci went into the kitchen to make the ramen. The group spent the next few hours laughing and celebrating Sakura's pregnancy. But as the day drew on, the rest of Naruto's girls gathered around him. Each girl had a sultry and lust-filled look on their face. Each girl grabbed a part of Naruto and looked him with lust-filled eyes. Then they all spoke at once in sultry tone. "Oh Naruto, when's it our turn?" The race was now on. Who would get to Naruto next? What if Naruto has hashirama and madara chakra seal inside harem? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.